Part 16. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 151. When Zhou Wan heard what Li Wan he said, she was so angry that she punched him several times. Regarding the fact that her son is too charming, she fully approves of it in her heart. This is all about showing off to the neighbors. For the entire Zhangzhou, it is destined to have a good sleep tonight. Because Zhang Yuling can be contacted, Li Yuan's phone can also be connected. Lu Shangyuan felt like he was on the verge of death. After returning home, he looked at his old father and said, "Dad, I really didn't do this. I feel like Li Yuan was directing and acting on his own." Originally, he wanted to say that it was Shen Tianfu and the others who did it, but the predicament of Shen Tianfu and the others had been resolved recently, so they would not have to quarrel with Li Yuan. Lu Zongnan said, "You should be glad that you have saved your life now, instead of doubting other people's motives. Even if he directed and acted on his own, he has taught you a lesson. If you dare to do this again in the future, you will only take advantage of yourself. You are kidding me. Remember, you must always use the rules to defeat others. In your rules, you have an absolute advantage, and you still want to use the black one. What are you thinking? If you can't catch him now, it doesn't mean you can't catch him in the future. He wants to beat you to death, maybe several times. And if you want to kill him, you only need to seize one opportunity. Just like playing mahjong, you have a perfect start and are just waiting to make the move." As for Li Yuan's origin and background, he is destined to win by slowly playing cards. With such a huge advantage, if you still lose, either luck is not on your side, or you are simply outnumbered by strength. Surrendering as soon as possible is better than anything else. Lu Zongnan didn't want to continue talking about this topic. Because Li Yuan's incident caused a big fuss this time, the entire Zhangzhou knew about Li Yuan's existence. And he would not be able to target Li Yuan for his son in a short time. Shangyuan capital, let it fend for itself. Yu Chenguang and Chenji were sitting in a box and playing. He said to Chenji, "I remember you told me before that you sent a flower basket to Qingtian capital." Chenji nodded. "Anna Shen asked me to give it to her. She wants to repair her relationship with Li Yuan." "Then do you still have contact with Li Yuan?" "There is no connection. Li Yuan is relatively indifferent. Last time he tried to create a chance for Anna Shen to test his tone, but it didn't work the whole time." Yu Chenguang frowned when he heard this. Said, "I asked Ho Wenbin about it. This guy Li Yuan is a bit unusual. He doesn't belong to his driver at all. The original car was given to Li Yuan by Grandpa Ho Wenbin to drive, but Li Yuan later gave it back. Anna Shen misled us, but fortunately Ho Wenbin held back that day." Of course Chenji knows Li Yuan's current situation. After all, she has been paying attention to Qingtian capital privately. It can be said that she has witnessed with her own eyes that Qingtian capital has gone all the way to the present, from several billions to 40 billions in 1 month. The subscription funds last Friday alone reached 10 billion. No domestic fund can reach 10 billion subscriptions in a single day. Qingtian capital, which manages 40 billion in funds, is considered an intruder even in the capital circle. Compared with the second generation like Yu Chenguang and others, Li Yuan's identity is easier to be recognized. Otherwise Zhang Yuanqiao would not stand up to speak to Li Yuan, otherwise Ho Zhenqiao would not stand up for Li Yuan. Yu Chenguang added, "My dad means that we can communicate with Li Yuan. How about you help me make an appointment with Li Yuan in 2 days? It's definitely okay to ask him out, but it's hard to say whether he's willing to come out. Let's make an appointment first." Yu Chenguang looked around and whispered in Chenji's ear, "He is more important to our family. There is one thing that only he can do. Find a way to make an appointment." Chenji's originally cold expression became more serious, and she nodded lightly. Her interests are consistent with Chenguang's. Li Yuan didn't wake up until 3 o'clock in the morning the next day. Zhang Yuling was still sleeping. When Li Yuan wanted to get up, he was pulled back by the dazed Zhang Yuling. Li Yuan hasn't figured out how to explain to Zhang Yuanqiao yet. Then, I heard the sound of my parents busy outside. Okay, let's figure out how to explain it to my parents first. After all, he couldn't teleport. The stairs on the second floor were far away. With his parents busy in the living room, it was impossible to leave this room quietly. It's all Zhang Yuling's fault for insisting on keeping him here last night. Originally, he wanted to go back upstairs at around 1 o'clock in the morning. However, Zhang Yuling's body was too weak. He is too greedy. Wan He, go upstairs and call Xiao Yuan. It's almost 9 o'clock, why aren't you up yet? Li Yuan heard the sound coming from outside. The soundproofing effect of the house in my hometown is very poor. Zhang Yuling almost bit his lip last night. Li Wan He said, I went to check it out when you went to buy breakfast. Xiao Yuan was not even on the second floor. Ah! Immediately afterwards, the living room became quiet. Li Yuan guessed that the old couple ran into his room and were communicating secretly. So he said to Zhang Yuling, I have to go upstairs, otherwise I will have to explain for a long time later. Zhang Yuling showed a lazy expression, stretched out his white arms, squinted his eyes, and said with a smile, then give me a kiss. I watched it from the TV series again. After kissing Li Yuan, he hurriedly ran out of the room and ran gently towards the second floor. I lay there for more than 10 minutes, stamping my big feet, and walked downstairs step by step, fearing that my parents wouldn't hear anything. For some things, knowing and seeing are two different concepts. Just maintain your decency. After Li Yuan went downstairs, he happened to see his parents opening the door from their room. Mom, have you got anything to eat? Jo Wan said nothing, her eyes seemed to be looking at monkeys. Li Wan He immediately said, I bought it a long time ago and it's still hot. You can ask Yuling to get up and eat together. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Yuling's room opened a crack, and with a smiling face, he said, Is breakfast ready? Yes, come and eat it. If it doesn't suit your taste, just tell me and I'll buy it for you again. Jo Wan walked over with a doting look on her face. Li Yuan was also about to go there to eat, but was grabbed by Li Wan He and pulled into their bedroom. As the door was closed, Li Yuan said in confusion, Dad, is there anything we can't talk about after dinner? Li Wan He said, there are a lot of things to do. After dinner, you take Yuling to the county town for some fun. Just remember to go home for lunch at noon. What are you doing in the county town? Li Yuan's home is very close to the county seat, and it only takes about 10 minutes to ride an electric bike. Nonsense, of course it's for shopping. I've prepared the money for you. After Li Wan He finished speaking, he took out a wad of money from under the pillow. It's quite thick. It's only 5 or 6,000. He put the money into Li Yuan's hand and said, I transferred 10,000 yuan to you on WeChat. You can spend it according to the standard to buy clothes and jewelry. Also, your living expenses in the future, will also give you an extra 2,000 a month. Originally, Li Yuan did not need to pay for living expenses. After all, when he was admitted to university, he received tens of thousands of dollars, all of which were in his hands. But after falling in love, Li Wan He was worried that he didn't have enough money to spend. Especially Zhang Yuling is impeccable in every aspect. No matter how you look at it, this guy is trying to climb high. If he could marry such a wife for the rest of his life, the ancestral graves of the old Li family would probably be emitting smoke. The two of them planned to buy some paper money tomorrow and go to the cemetery to thank their ancestors. No, 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 I have enough money. You are saving it for school. Although our family doesn't have much money, we can still meet the basic needs. If you don't have any money in the future, ask us for it. I really don't want to. I have to. These will be spent today. Let me tell you, you kid, don't be so picky and let others know about it and make fun of our family. Li Yuan felt that if he didn't take the money, he wouldn't be able to have breakfast. He could hear Zhang Yuling's happy voice outside. He took the money, stuffed it into his trouser pocket, and said, "Okay, okay, I'll take her to spend it later. I'm going to eat first." After saying that, he opened the door and walked out. "The buns made by Auntie are delicious. Here, I'll feed you one." Zhang Yuling picked up a small steamed bun and brought it to Li Yuan's mouth. Li Yuan swallowed it in one gulp and said, "My mother bought this." As a result, Zhou Wan was unhappy. Who doesn't know how to make xiao long bao? The ones I made are even more delicious than this, but I don't have time to make the noodles so early in the morning. Come over next time, Yiling, I will make them for you to try. Ah, okay, okay, hee hee. After a while, the two of them finished their meal, and Zhang Yuling sat down on the sofa, ready to start enjoying the hostess's day. At least that's what she thought. Li Yuan also came over. The table was filled with snacks and various dried fruits, which were obviously bought by his parents early in the morning. You don't usually have these at home. The virtues of the two of them made Li Wanhe and his wife angry. Mainly because he was angry with Li Yuan. This kid is ignorant, how can he stay at home? Li Wanhe kept winking at Li Yuan. Li Yuan turned his back to them and pretended not to see it. First, he didn't want to go out. Second, Zhang Yuling didn't want to go out either. As for money and so on, why spend it without spending it? You can spend it all at the village canteen. But when his father's unpredictable kick came over, Li Yuan couldn't act stupid. He came close to Zhang Yuling and said, "Come with me to the county town for some fun. I haven't been back to the county town for a long time. There are several fun places." "Yeah." Zhang Yuling agreed. The old couple also laughed. The battery scooter Li Yuan rode back yesterday, and the couple got up early in the morning to charge it, and now it comes in handy. Li Yuan rode a battery car and rushed to the county town with Zhang Yuling. Zhang Yuling didn't lack anything, and neither did he. "My dad gave me more than 10,000 yuan to buy you something. I rarely give things to others, but you paid for it today." "Really? Give me all the money, not a penny will be left." "Okay, as long as you can walk." He didn't believe that Zhang Yuling could actually go shopping, so he could just find a store and buy. It's best to go to a jewelry store and spend all your money on just one item. "Of course I can move around." "Well, it's easier for me than you anyway. Obviously your muscles are not as big as mine." "Are you kidding? Do you have chicken there?" "In this regard, I am a dimensionality reduction attack." "Oh, you are talking about the chest muscles, so I really can't compare." "Haha, Li Yuan, I noticed that you usually pretend to be aloof, don't you?" "How to say? If you are really that cold, how can you have so much experience?" "I'm different from you. I like to watch TV dramas with the second half of the story. You only like to watch TV dramas with only the work part. I must have more experience than you. Send it to me. Watch it together when you have time. It is illegal to spread it online." "Then how did you get it?" "It's spread by others." "Others break the law. What does it have to do with me?" Yes, yes, you are pure and pure." Zhang Yuling found that Li Yuan had many fallacies, which sounded unreliable. But after thinking about them carefully, they seemed to make some sense. Soon we arrived at the county center shopping mall. Where has Zhang Yuling never been? So essentially she doesn't like the shopping malls here at all. But what she liked was the gift given to her by Li Yuan's parents. In just 1.5 hours, Li Yuan had about 7 or 8 bags in his hands. From clothes and shoes to snacks. Finally, Zhang Yuling came to the jewelry counter. Li Yuan knew that the matter was almost over. It's not that he doesn't care how much money he spends, it's just that he's been bothered to go shopping with women all his life. Because he didn't have that many words in his mind to deal with the shopping scene. How about this necklace? A bit old-fashioned. Where's this pendant? A bit old-fashioned. What about this bracelet? Ordinary. Oh, then put these on. Li Yuan. This is woman. The same thing happened when I first bought clothes. I had to ask myself about every piece of clothing. I finally gave advice, but it did not affect the final result. Zhang Yuling still chose according to his own preferences. In this case, don't ask in the first place. The vocabulary I came up with after searching my guts was like running with me. Well, it feels like licking a dog. With the clerk's busy work, the ticket was issued to Zhang Yuling. When Li Yuan was about to pay, Zhang Yuling took the lead in swiping his card. I bought this for my parents with my own money. You're too deep into the drama. I'm happy, but I can't give it for free. A total of several pieces of jewelry cost more than 60,000 yuan. That big gold bracelet only costs more than 100 grams, although gold is cheap now. Where is the nearby liquor store? Zhang Yuling suddenly asked. You want to buy a drink? Yes, I saw that there are wine bottles at home. I can't just buy something for mom and not dad, right? There's no place to put it? We didn't drive out, we rode a battery car. Let people deliver it to your door. Just buy more. Teacher Zhang, you are trying to corrupt my parents with money. Hee hee. Zhang Yuling didn't answer and walked towards the outside of the mall. Li Yuan pointed in a direction because he felt it was necessary to do so. Looking in the direction Li Yuan was pointing, Zhang Yuling was suddenly stunned for a moment, then threw the thing in his hand at Li Yuan and ran forward in large strides. Hey, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly get nervous? Li Yuan looked at the direction Zhang Yuling was walking, and she quickly stopped in front of a man and a woman. He could only see the backs of a man and a woman, and he felt that the backs were a bit familiar. Like Qin Si. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 152. Li Yuan watched Zhang Yuling run to the front, stop a man and a woman, and then began to talk to the woman. However, the man seemed a little annoyed and insisted on dragging the woman next to him away. Then, Zhang Yuling disagreed. Li Yuan could see that the man put his hand on the woman's shoulder, and even gave the woman a coat on a hot day. It's this coat. He's not sure if it's Qin Si, but Qin Si's shoulder-length short hair is more distinctive, and his height and other appearance are also relatively similar. Zhang Yuling seemed to be angry and insisted on dragging the woman away. Then, the man was so excited that he accidentally took off the woman's coat. At that moment, Li Yuan was shocked. Because a dagger was in the man's hand. The man instantly put the dagger on the woman's neck and tried to take the woman away. As the woman revealed her profile, Li Yuan could be sure that it was Qin Si. Zhang Yuling was still blocking the way. Li Yuan quickly ran over there. The crowd around them exploded in an instant and started to move away. However, after running a few steps, they couldn't help but turn back to watch the show. The man held Qin Si in his arms and forced Zhang Yuling back step by step. Zhang Yuling had no choice but to retreat little by little. Li Yuan had already arrived behind the man, only a few meters away. Zhang Yuling was in front of the man, attracting all his attention. At this time, Li Yuan had the opportunity to take action. However, the man's dagger was too close to Qin Si's neck. After Zhang Yuling saw Li Yuan's position, he shook his head. The man seemed to notice Li Yuan, and suddenly turned around while holding Qin Si's neck. The dagger could clearly be seen leaving a trace of red on Qin Si's neck. Qin Si had no choice but to stagger and be held hostage. Get away from me! Get out! The man yelled at Li Yuan. He acted very nervous. Li Yuan put all the bags in his hands on the ground, raised his hands at the same time, and said in a calm tone, "Don't be nervous, I don't have any weapons in my hands, and I pose no threat to you. In fact, I think you can talk about it. You have to know that someone has already called the police, and you are currently in the center of the county and cannot escape in a short time. But I can help you with this. I want money, can you afford it?" The man roared, his expression distorted. Li Yuan laughed, "You said you only wanted money. I don't have much else, I just have a lot of money." The man obviously didn't believe it and sighed, "I won't talk nonsense to you now, please get out of the way or I will kill her." At this moment, the police car arrived. At this time, more and more people gathered around, and some people immediately began to evacuate the crowd. Unfortunately, there was no way to evacuate. The gangsters only had daggers in their hands, so the people who ate melons felt that they were not much of a threat. They are not hostages anyway. I really have money. You open the number and I will give it to you now. There is a bank next to it. It won't take long for me to withdraw the money. Li Yuan was still trying to communicate and make the other party relax. But after seeing the police arriving, the man became extremely nervous and couldn't listen to a word. Especially when he saw the two policemen approaching, he immediately shouted, "Don't come over here. If you come over again, I will kill her." His arms tightened more and more, and Qin Si's face turned red. At this time, among the people who came, a middle-aged man said with a serious face, "Zhang Chengui, you have become successful. In the past, you could just commit petty theft, but now you dare to kidnap people directly." It was obvious that both parties were old acquaintances. Li Yuan also had an impression when he heard the name Zhang Chengui. But he had no impression of him before, except that he was a bad gambler. But in reality, he looks like a dog, and he doesn't look too old, probably around 30 years old. So at first, Li Yuan didn't think that way. When Zhang Chengui saw his old acquaintance, he became even more crazy. His eyes widened, his whole body trembled, and he shouted in a hoarse voice, "Don't force me, I can do anything." He didn't move the dagger from Qin Si's neck the whole time. The middle-aged man took out a pack of cigarettes and said, "Do you want to smoke?" Zhang Chengui did not respond. The man calmly lit his cigarette and took several steps forward in the process. Meng took a sip and said helplessly while blowing out the smoke, "Did you lose money again?" Zhang Chengui still didn't respond, but no response was the best result, which meant that his emotions were slowly calming down. The middle-aged man continued, "Actually, your skills are not bad, but your luck is too bad. Losing money is not entirely your fault. If you play cards normally, you will definitely not be able to play other people's tricks. Also, why are you kidnapping your wife when you have nothing to do? Your wife has worked so hard to raise your son for you, and she doesn't care about anything. If you want to tie her up, why do you kidnap those who win your money? What kind of skills can you do if you are in a nest? No one in this world forces you. If you put down the knife in your hand now, there will be a wide road ahead for you to follow. If you delay any longer, if something goes wrong with your wife, it really can't be dealt with so lightly. Is it any good if you cut off your own path? Aren't they better at robbing banks than you? Are they not more ruthless than you? But look, how many people have succeeded? That's me. I came from the village before, so I want to help you at this time. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't have said a word to you. Put down the knife, have a cigarette with me, and then the matter is over. How's it going?" Li Yuan stood nearby and watched, and could see the struggle on Zhang Chengui's face. His psychological defense seemed to have loosened a lot. "Give me 500,000, let me go, and I will spare her life." Zhang Chengui stated his conditions. The middle-aged man said, "Where can I find you 500,000 yuan? Do you think I can earn 500,000 yuan? Don't watch too many TV series. We are a small county and no one has the right to give you 500,000 yuan 100,000. All we can promise is to be nice to you after you put down the knife. At this moment, Qin Si, who had not said a word, suddenly said, "Uncle, he has an accomplice," and his accomplice took the child away. What? The middle-aged man immediately became angry. Zhang Chengui, you piece of shit, that's your own son. How dare you attack your own son? Tell me quickly, where are they? It seemed that this incident suddenly touched Zhang Chengui's nerves, instantly making his calm heart become crazy again. He said with a distorted expression, "I don't have a son, I don't have anyone, give me money quickly, or I will fight you to the death. You are worse than a pig. I will give you one last chance, put down the knife." Zhang Chengui pulled Qin Si and ran directly to the wall, then pointed around and said, "I only give you half an hour. If you don't see the money for half an hour, that child will die, and so will she. Everyone will die." Li Yuan took a few steps back. Judging from Zhang Chengui's performance, he should have completely lost his mind. And Qin Si must have voluntarily been coerced by him just for the sake of the child. Just hearing that the child was going to die, Qin Si's face showed pain. He recalled the previous scene, where Zhang Chengui hugged Qin Si and walked west. Zhang Chengui's accomplices could not kidnap people in the center of the county, but could only kidnap people in the suburbs or even in the wild. After he entered the crowd, he took out his mobile phone and called Zhou Ran. Soon, the call was connected. "Sister Ran, do me a favor. Go to Ziguan and find me a child. He is 3 or 4 years old. He is a boy. He should be kidnapped. Find him within half an hour. As long as the child is safe, I will give him 10 million. When Li Yuan met Qin Si the day before yesterday, he thought about signing her to Joshin Media. His appearance and temperament are very suitable for him to build a high-end brand. But she never had the chance because she didn't need her own help. Anyway, if the child dies, he doesn't have to pay. If the child is alive, Qin Si will pay for it himself, and the chance of getting it in his own hands is very small. What happened? Now is not the time to explain. Can you find it? Yes. I'm making a call now. Please, Sister Ran, we must ensure the safety of the child. Zhou Ran actually knew many people in the county. Of course, they are not serious people. But at this time, only the unscrupulous people have something to do. A lot of information is exchanged between them, because there are only so many people in the world who can do evil, so where can they easily find a helper who can do bad things? Aren't they all old friends? By the way, those people who kidnapped the children may be related to a man named Zhang Chengui. I know, I'll ask you now. Also, please, Sister Ran, please lend me your car. You don't have to drive it. Just find someone to take the car to the central shopping mall. Well, let me ask you other questions first. The car will be delivered to you later. After hanging up the phone, Li Yuan went to the bank next door. Take out your bank card and withdraw money. Generally, if you want to withdraw more than 200,000 yuan, you need to make an appointment. Fortunately, there were not many people withdrawing money this morning, and there was enough cash in the bank. After going back and forth for more than 10 minutes, Li Yuan finally left the bank with 500,000 yuan. As soon as he left the bank, he heard Zhang Chengui's hysterical roar. He couldn't listen to anything at all. The middle-aged man who had come forward to persuade him had also moved back, and there were several more police cars around. He vaguely heard a group of people talking about snipers over there. The sniper was not in the county at this time, and it would take an hour at the fastest to return. Li Yuan walked up to Zhang Yuling, and the two whispered. Then Li Yuan took the initiative to take a few steps closer. Stop. If you dare to go forward again, I will kill him. When Zhang Chengui was at his most sensitive, he became crazier towards the end. Li Yuan shook the bag in his hand and said, "Don't you want 500,000? I sent it to you. I just took it from the bank. Won't you check the money? Put the money on the ground and hurry up." Zhang Chengui didn't give Li Yuan a chance to move forward at all. "You are a grown man, but you still have a dagger in your hand. Are you still afraid of me? Put the money on the ground and don't let me say it a second time. Get out." Zhang Chengui's whole body trembled even more violently. At this moment, Zhang Yuling came over and took the bag containing money from Li Yuan. "Brother, there is no problem if I send you the money, right? If you don't check it, we will not be responsible if there is something wrong with the money. A woman, especially a beautiful woman, can bring anyone's guard to a minimum. Open the bag." Zhang Chengui pointed at Zhang Yuling and said. Zhang Yuling opened the bag, took out a pile of cash, took 2 steps forward, and threw a bundle out. 5 bundles in total. The cash did take away part of Zhang Chengui's appeal, and although Zhang Yuling took a few steps closer, he was actually still about 15 meters away. Zhang Yuling continued, "Brother, in this situation, it's useless even if you get the money. Why don't we discuss it and treat it as if we spent $500,000 to let the woman next to you take a sip of water? The money is considered the eldest brother's legal income." At this time, Li Yuan threw a bottle of mineral water to Zhang Yuling. Zhang Yuling held it in his hand and shook it. "I'm warning you, don't do any tricks." Zhang Chengui threatened fiercely. Zhang Yuling didn't care at all. "As a woman, what tricks can I do? And I'm wearing high heels, what can I do?" Zhang Yuling changed all his clothes in the mall. She also didn't want to wear something so formal at Li Yuan's house. "Pick up the money, including the water, and throw it over here." "Okay." After Zhang Yuling finished speaking, he took advantage of the time to pick up the money and took a few steps forward. The distance between the two sides was only 10 meters. Then, Zhang Yuling struggled to lift a bag of money and stuff the mineral water into it. When she wanted to throw it away, she seemed to have no strength. He hurriedly said, "Brother, this money is too heavy. I only have enough strength to throw it away. You take 2 more steps forward." No one thought Zhang Yuling was faking. After all, $500,000 in cash weighed more than 10 kilograms. It is unrealistic to expect a petite beauty to throw something weighing more than 10 kilograms 10 meters away. "Brother, you can't hurt me. I've been thinking about you." As he spoke, Zhang Yuling had already taken the first step. When he was only 5 or 6 meters away, Zhang Chengui suddenly said, "Stop. Stop. Just throw it over there. Isn't this, still a little far? Stop talking nonsense, it's right over there. If you take 1 more step forward, don't blame me for holding you on my back even before I die." "Oh." After Zhang Yuling finished speaking, he threw a big bag over with all his strength. Then, by coincidence, as if due to lack of strength, the bag stopped about 30 centimeters in front of Zhang Chengui. "Oh, brother, I just said it's a bit far." Zhang Chengui tried to hook the bag over with his feet, but on the one hand, the bag weighed more than 10 kilograms, and on the other hand, his legs were not long enough. "I can touch it, but I have no ability to get it in front of me." Mainly because he couldn't reach out, because although one hand held a dagger on Qin Si's neck, his other hand was holding the balance, otherwise he would have killed Qin Si long ago if he was emotionally excited. He saw that the mouth of the bag had been loosened, and the banknotes inside were bright red. This money is more important than his life. He moved the dagger away from Qin Si's neck. He continued to lock her neck with one arm, freeing one hand to bend down and prepare to get the money back. And Zhang Yuling wanted this kind of opportunity. Before this, she had several opportunities, but she was not absolutely sure, So she never took action. Halfway through, she felt that the middle-aged policeman had persuaded Zhang Chengui, but Zhang Chengui suddenly changed his mood. Draw the gun, load the gun, aim, pull the trigger a second time. 5 actions, done in a split second. She fired twice in succession without even shaking her wrist. Just when Zhang Chengui was about to get the money, because at that moment, all his attention was on the money bag, and he subconsciously thought about how to lift the money bag. Once he gets the money, his vigilance returns. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 153. Zhang Yuling was almost held down by the rushing crowd, but fortunately she threw the gun on the ground and asked the people here to check the code. Li Yuan immediately ran to Qin Si, opened Zhang Chengui's hand, and pulled Qin Si out. The surrounding crowd was in a panic at first, but now they have calmed down, and they surrounded the scene airtightly from 3 levels inside and 3 outside. Zhang Yuling was communicating with those people with a serious face. After finally checking her ID card and electronic gun permit, everyone felt relieved. However, the gun was not returned to Zhang Yuling, but would be used as evidence later. After all, Zhang Chengui was killed by this gun. The 2 shots were all hit in the head, leaving Zhang Chengui almost no effort. The distance is a bit close, but if you don't have a big heart and enough proficiency, you will never be able to do this. Otherwise, there are many people who can shoot, and we won't have to wait for the sniper to be in position. If Zhang Chengui had been persuaded to come down the first time, there would be no need to send out snipers. Later, Zhang Chengui became increasingly uncontrollable and unwilling to listen to anyone else's words. In addition, there were several wounds on the hostage's body, and there was a risk of death at any time. It is a very urgent situation. This is still in a public place, and you have the right to directly kill the gangsters. Quickly, take her to the hospital. Someone shouted. The ambulance was actually already on standby. There were at least 5 or 6 cuts on Qin Si's neck, one of which was quite deep. Li Yuan came to Zhang Yuling, put his arm around her shoulders and asked, "Do you need psychological counseling?" The moment Zhang Yuling fired the gun, he was really handsome. Yes, I'm scared to death. Anyway, no one knows us here, so why not?" Before Zhang Yuling finished speaking, Li Yuan pointed to the melon-eating crowd nearby. Many mobile phones have recorded the entire process. Then let's go to the hospital. That woman helped me a lot, I want to see her. Okay, but how did you tell that she was being held hostage? Because his expression was wrong and the man's posture was wrong. I originally thought he was Qin Si's friend and tried to save Qin Si, but Qin Si seemed a little reluctant. It's probably because her son has been kidnapped and she's worried. In fact, Li Yuan felt that Qin Si was acting very abnormally. Because at the beginning, Zhang Chengui was almost convinced by the police acquaintance, but her words made Zhang Chengui lose control of his emotions again. Of course, it couldn't explain anything. After all, what Qin Si said was reasonable, and it was unlikely that she was joking with her own life. She simply felt that it was best for her not to say anything at that time, and to wait until she was safe to save her son was the best solution. Where is her son now? Have you looked for him? Zhang Yuling didn't suspect anything. After all, some people looked young, and it was normal for Qin Si to have children. Going to find. Both Li Yuan and the police are looking for the little boy. But I haven't received any news yet. Li Yuan picked up the things he had thrown away before. At this moment, Zhou Ran asked someone to drive the car over. After thanking the other party, Li Yuan drove to the hospital. It was easy to find Chin Si in the hospital because the police were following him. It's just that Chin Si didn't feel the joy of surviving the disaster. He seemed a little dazed and dull. Unable to concentrate, as if something is on his mind. There were people constantly comforting her and telling her that the child was trying hard to find it and there would be results. Li Yuan and Zhang Yuling stood in the corridor on the 4th floor of the hospital, watching Chin Si coming in and out, with a bandage wrapped around his neck. Li Yuan walked over and said to the police officer over there, "Hello, can I take Chin Si away now? If anything happens later, just call me." Many people know that Li Yuan helped a lot at the scene, and his 500,000 yuan is still at the police station and needs to be picked up after the registration is completed. But this matter is really not that easy to do. What is your relationship with Chin Si? I'm her cousin. Chin Si, is that right? They asked Chin Si. Chin Si nodded. Then, the policeman took out a document and handed it to Li Yuan. "Please sign and leave a contact information. If you have any questions, come to us at the police station at any time. We have been searching for the child. We will have news soon. We will notify you as soon as possible. If you have any clues, please communicate with us at any time." This matter is actually very simple. The gangster was killed and Chin Si's confession has been retained. The next step is to wait for the results from someone else. However, according to Chin Si's confession, it may not be easy to find the person. Zhang Yuling came over, took Chin Si's hand and walked out. After getting in the car, Li Yuan drove the two of them towards Ziguan. Suddenly, Li Yuan asked, "Chin Si, do you know where the child is?" "He's gone." "Oh, it's gone if it's gone. It's not your child anyway. It just so happens that Zhang Chengui is also dead, so you will be completely free from now on." Zhang Yuling was shocked when Li Yuan said this. It's okay to be rude on weekdays, but in this situation today, Li Yuan actually said that. Sure enough, Chin Si suddenly stared at Li Yuan fiercely and wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't. When Li Yuan saw Chin Si's expression, he knew better. "No need to hit your hands." At this time, Zhang Yuling said, "Send me to the police station and I'll get my gun back." "Good." Li Yuan turned around, drove a few hundred meters, and let Zhang Yuling down. At this time, he looked at Chin Si again and said, "Actually, I don't believe that Zhang Chengui has the ability to kidnap that little boy quietly beside you. You will keep him with you no matter what you do." Chin Si did not speak. Li Yuan continued, "Zhang Chengui had a chance to live, but you deprived him of the right to live." Chin Si still didn't speak. Finally, Li Yuan said those words. "Did you deliberately give Zhang Chengui a chance to kidnap the child?" Chin Si was shocked. He slowly said, "Shouldn't he die?" Li Yuan knew that she was talking about Zhang Chengui. "Yeah, of course he deserves to die. But you dote on that child so much, why are you willing to use him as bait? At first I wanted him to register Xiaosheng as a registered child because Xiaosheng is already 4 years old and it's time to go to kindergarten. But he didn't agree and started talking about it from last year to this year. I had no choice but to tell him that Xiaosheng was not his biological child, and asked him to take Xiaosheng for a paternity test. Once the paternity test was completed, he would be able to apply for a household registration. Early this morning, I brought Xiaosheng to the county town and handed the child over to him. So, it's right to say that I used Xiaosheng as bait. If I hadn't had to do a paternity test, this wouldn't have happened." Li Yuan continued to ask, "Then why did you not even ask about the child after Zhang Chengui died? In fact, you don't really care about the child that much. After all, it is not yours. That's my sister's child." Chin Si roared. Then he lowered his head and started to cry. "Zhang Chengui told me that the child can't be sold for much money, but I can be worth a lot as long as I go with him, the child can live. And there are people following me secretly. As long as something happens to Zhang Chengui and they find me calling the police, they will kill the child immediately. I really didn't want to talk to your teacher at first, I didn't want to go with her. Li Yuan frowned and thought about many things. Qin Si's sudden abnormal behavior actually meant that he felt that the child could not be saved, so he simply killed Zhang Chengui. He was even ready to die with Zhang Chengui. Therefore, even if she was rescued in the end, she would not be happy at all. They will not let the child go just because you cooperate. If they followed the rules and were humane, they would not do such a thing. Li Yuan said. At least there's hope. Hope? Hope is for people with humanity. For a group of gamblers, their only hope is to win the next hand. If it weren't for Teacher Zhang, your current consequences would be even worse, and even your children would not have a child. The slightest chance of survival. Qin Si doesn't refute now. But soon, she suddenly realized that there was something wrong with what Li Yuan said. If it didn't happen. You mean there is still hope for the child? Who knows, someone asked me to give him 10 million. As long as the money passes, the child will be fine. Qin Si knew. A smile suddenly appeared on her face. Then, cousin, do you have 10 million? Yes, the last thing I need is money. Then how can I get you to lend me money? If Li Yuan could say it, it meant that he could borrow it. Therefore, no matter how embarrassed Qin Si was, he still had to open his mouth. Sign the IOU, and then go work according to my requirements to earn money to pay off the debt. Good. Qin Si didn't hesitate at all. Compared with what Zhang Chengui said before about selling himself, the results are already very good. Anyway, she is not worth 10 million in this life, so she can just work until she dies. Then I'll make a call. Li Yuan called Zhou Ran back, which meant that the people over there could call the police directly. As for the 10 million, Li Yuan had no cash in hand, so he asked Zhou Ran to pay it on his behalf. When can I see Xiao Sheng? Qin Si asked after Li Yuan hung up the phone. About half an hour. Keep your phone open and I will have someone contact you in 2 days to talk to you about work-related matters. Good. Qin Si's smile has not disappeared since she recovered. Li Yuan actually had plans before, because although Jushin Media is doing well now, there are basically none with real brand value. Because Lu Hao has no title, although he has a lot of traffic, he is destined to only make low-end products and take away the volume. What he customized for Lu Hao was cheap and practical. For example, a novice fishing set is 99 yuan, 10 bags of bait are 19 yuan and 90 yuan, etc. On the premise of ensuring mid-range quality, selling low-end prices may still make a difference. If you invest in low-end brands and the fishing market is so big, you can earn an additional 200 million to 300 million a year if you make a small profit of 30 to 50 cents in the future. But it's basically the end. Unless you harvest fans and do one-time business, it's almost impossible to make too much. High-end brands are different, and Lee Zioki is a good example. Even if it breaks up later, this brand can still rely on its strong appeal to generate sales of more than 1 billion per year. If nothing unexpected happens, if you continue to serve as the brand image person and continue to add visibility to the entire brand, it will not be a problem to triple or 5 times your sales. Of course, these are not the most important. Even if he can make a net profit of 1 billion or 2 billion a year, Li Yuan doesn't care that much. What he cares about is whether he can sell something. Even if you don't make a penny, as long as you can sell something. Those who play finance are most afraid of an economic collapse. And how did the economy collapse? It's nothing more than inflation, stagflation. In fact, consumer credibility has been declining, which will gradually directly lead to many people being afraid to consume. The internet is full of scams, fakes, and tricks. Even the top shopping platforms are full of tricks and you can fall for them if you are not careful. Anyway, within a few years, everyone will not spend money even if they have money. This will be the darkest moment for the financial industry, and we don't even know if there is any hope for the future. At that time, whoever could sell the goods would be the boss, and whoever had cash flow would be able to get through the most difficult times. If he can build a team with a sales volume of RMB 350 billion a year, he can survive even if the global financial crisis sweeps through the country 10 years ago. Anyway, as long as there is a steady flow of funds, he can add leverage at any time. Otherwise, the dead money earned will not be able to withstand long-term risks. Unless the goal is to stay alive, then he can retire now. In the wave of global wealth redistribution, the more means you have, the longer you can live. This is the beginning of a global redistribution of wealth. After all, the 28-20 rule has been broken, and now there is not even 19. Whoever can dominate the distribution of wealth this time will be the oligarch of the next era. Li Yuan is still young and has the opportunity to witness and experience the next era. I didn't tell Qin Si before because I thought it would be useless. At that time, Qin Si had not shown any weakness in front of him. But now, Qin Si has no choice. After waiting for almost half an hour, Zhang Yuling didn't come out. Li Yuan waited for his mother's call. Xiao Yuan, the owner group your dad joined said there was a kidnapping case at the central shopping mall. Why does that person look a bit like you? Li Yuan. My father is engaged in decoration, and basically all the owners in the city will find a way to get in. So, probably. And my mother didn't sound worried at all, which meant that this wasn't what she cared about at all. Is that you? Zhou Wan asked. That should be it. Then it was Yuling who shot. Isn't that right? This is what Zhou Wan cares about most. She saw the video, but because the camera was a bit blurry and Zhang Yuling's clothes had changed, she couldn't see clearly. But even if Li Yuan next to her turned into ashes, she still recognized him as her son. Look at Zhang Yuling's decisiveness in shooting and his aura of killing people without blinking an eye. Mom, don't be afraid. It's okay. She has been practicing since she was a child and has a gun license. What am I afraid of? It's too late for me to be happy. Son, it's just her. Your father and I don't recognize other girls. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 154. The video of Zhang Yuling taking action quickly spread on the internet. But he appeared in another identity. It is said that when the sniper was not in place, the gangster became more and more agitated, and finally sent Zhang Yuling, a goddess gunner, to implement the hostage rescue plan, because women can minimize the gangster's chance. Of course, words such as practicing guns for 10 years and making perfect shots are also indispensable. When Qin Si got a summons from the police station saying that her son had been found, she got out of the car. It happened that Zhang Yuling had also finished handling the matter and took back the 500,000 in cash. As he got in the car, he said, I just heard that Qin Si's child was found. Of course, I spent a full 10 million. If it had been more than 10 minutes late, the child would probably be gone. Can spending money have this effect? That's 10 million. It is estimated that there are not 20 families in our county with a net worth of tens of millions. There must be less than 10 families that can spend tens of millions in cash. In this world, bad people always know the bad people better, and the more money can directly cause them to collapse internally due to interests, and any clues of information will be compiled as soon as possible. The group of bad guys is just that big. It is almost inevitable that they will come into contact with their own kind, and any contact will leave traces. Isn't she your cousin? You don't care about money, do you? I don't feel bad. There is no need to tell Zhang Yuling about other things. If Zhang Yuling has a heart attack, he will have to tell him something. Zhang Yuling breathed a sigh of relief and said, the main reason is that her family is really poor, and you have done a great thing. I have always been charitable, and besides, she is my cousin. Then how do you take the 500,000 back? Go buy a drink first, and then I'll think of a reason. Li Yuan doesn't want to have a showdown with his family now, otherwise the neighbors will know about it. Let your parents keep it a secret? Are you kidding? They won't keep it a secret. He bet that when he gets home later, the whole village will know about Zhang Yuling's shooting of the gangster. Zhang Yuling is okay, people will only envy, admire, and respect him. But once the news about him gets out, those people in the county will definitely come over to put a hat on his father, and then take the opportunity to fight against the autumn wind. Even if you want to give your father a name, will you accept it or not? Received. You have to give money. Don't answer. Maybe his father also wants to enjoy the feeling of being respected. Who wants to be a decorator all day long? All of a sudden, those big shots who were just out of reach all of a sudden became his licking dogs, and he couldn't find him anywhere. Let's wait until around the Chinese New Year. I'll be at home at that time and can help with it. Now that I have finished speaking, I will leave immediately. Whatever happens at home, I will not have time to deal with it. Maybe when I return home during the Chinese New Year, my parents will be praised as the spokespersons of the county. Any reputation has a price tag secretly. When he arrived at a relatively large wine store, Zhang Yuling selected a few boxes of wine and picked up a few cartons of cigarettes. Li Yuan took a look, emptied the liquor store's Maotai inventory, and then added a few more cigarettes. Zhang Yuling said immediately, I'll swipe the card, don't grab it from me. You don't even have a salary, do you? I've already asked you to pay tens of thousands of yuan. I'll buy these. Li Yuan didn't want to keep taking advantage of Zhang Yuling. Especially when it comes to money. Although he helped Zhang Yuanqiao make a lot of money, he still thinks it's a business cooperation. Now it's a private matter. He collected Zhang Yuanqiao's management fee. How much money they made was because of their trust in him. I didn't make any promise of profit. Zhang Yuling quickly stopped him and said, you have to give me a chance and you can buy it when you go to my house. I won't stop you from buying anything then. Oh, that's okay. Li Yuan probably also knew how much money Zhang Yuling spent, so he could just find an opportunity to spend it back. When the final settlement was made, it added up to 120,000. The boss calculated this based on the inventory price. A full box of 8 pieces of Fishan only cost 9,600, which is equivalent to 1,600 bottles. In the end, the car was full and I reluctantly took it back. There is no room for one more person. Husband, have you thought about what to do with the 500,000? Li Yuan. The village is about to be demolished and a villa is to be built on the site. Just say that the 500,000 yuan is yours and you want to build a bigger villa. Not only did he think about the source of the 500,000, but he also thought of a good reason for other things. After all, even if he didn't reveal his identity, others might know it, but Qingtian capital was established relatively late, and the news hadn't spread that widely. Maybe someone will come to the door before he comes back. Ah! Demolition. Building a villa. Yes, there is a rich man in the village who plans to provide benefits to the villagers. Those who are willing to stay in the village will help build villas on the homestead. If they are not willing to stay in the village, the homestead can be sold to her, and she will compensate according to the size of the homestead. It ranges from hundreds of thousands to more than 1 million. My family will definitely not be moved away. Then you can add 500,000 to make the site bigger so that we can live more comfortably in the future. After Zhang Yuling heard this, he didn't care about the size of the territory, but the meaning conveyed by Li Yuan's words. Do you want to consider this place your home? Hinting at marriage? Is 500,000 a little too little? I'll ask Grandpa for more money and add more. No, no, that's enough. It doesn't cost much to build a house in my hometown. It's just to expand the area. The rich man will pay for other expenses. Which rich man? If I have a chance to meet you in the future, I'll live in the village. Li Yuan's electric bike didn't come back, so he could only throw the key to his parents and ask them to come and get it back. Driving in the county town is really not as fast as an electric car, and the two wheels can travel freely. As a result, it took only 10 minutes to reach the village by electric car, but it took more than 20 minutes to reach the village entrance by car. The distance was far away, and Li Yuan saw many people surrounding it. Someone seemed to have seen the car, and Li Yuan saw his father, running over and lighting a firecracker. The crackling sound resounded for miles around. Zhang Yuling was shocked while sitting in the car. What's going on here? Li Yuan smiled and said, "This is to welcome you, the great hero, back to the village." A great hero? Of course, my mother is grinning to the back of her head. Maybe she has told the whole village about you killing the gangster. This is definitely an honor for the family, and it is something worth talking about no matter what the occasion. The sound of firecrackers didn't stop until the car drove to the door. Li Yuan estimated that his father probably bought 100,000 rings and committed the crime against the wind. Banning firecrackers or whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. After all, no matter how strong the rules are, if someone is getting married and setting off fireworks in a rural area, can you really run over and find someone and arrest them? Zhang Yuling panicked when she saw Zhou Wan coming to open the car door for her. If conditions weren't limited, a special red carpet would have to be laid to prevent Zhang Yuling's feet from getting dusty. Li Yuan didn't get much treatment here. He followed his father and said hello to the neighbors. Anyway, the neighbors all had good things to say. What about finding a good girlfriend, asking when to get married, what is Zhang Yuling's identity, why is he so powerful, etc. What can Li Yuan say? I could only say a few perfunctory words with a smile, but none of them got to the point. Because every question is difficult to answer. After they left, Li Wanhe also came over and asked, "Who is Yuling? Isn't he a teacher? Why do you dare to shoot? Dad, if you're okay, just help me move the things out of the car. They are all given to you by Yuling. Why are you gossiping? Can I not care about my daughter-in-law? Besides." While talking, Li Wanhe opened the back door of the car. When I see the boxes of wine, my eyes light up. I don't want to say anything anymore. After drooling for a while, he said with some complaint, "Why are you spending all this money? Keep your money for your own use. Didn't she want you to drink something every day? Old village chief. I drink some cheap wine and feel energetic at work. Then I will drink these instead, but according to the previous rules, I have to reduce it to at least half every day." Li Yuan knew his father's hobbies. He liked to smoke every day while working, and he would drink 2 to 3 ounces of wine when he came back at night. Not a lot, but not a lot. Get some good wine and put some psychological pressure on Dad so that he can drink less. He is usually a very stingy person. These are reserved for entertaining guests. What kind of guests are you waiting for? Your daughter-in-law gave this to you. She was very considerate of it, but you gave it to others to drink. What will she think then? Then I'll drink slowly." After Li Wanhe finished speaking, he brought down a box of wine. As a result, I saw there were several boxes behind me. He couldn't see clearly before because it was full. And when I saw that it was mutai, I felt that just one box was already very expensive, but it turned out that there were several boxes later. How much do these drinks cost? Same for you, why don't you stop it? The girls are already very generous when they come to our place, and you still want them to spend so much money. Li Yuan said, "This is still blocked. If the car hadn't been blocked, she could have moved the cigarette shop home." Ah! Li Wanhee opened his mouth. Is the Yuling family so rich? Li Yuan came over mysteriously, made a gesture to his father, and said, "It's not just money, but also this." He made an 8 sign. Li Wanhee understood immediately. Li Yuan continued, "She also bought several pieces of jewelry for her mother, which totaled more than 60,000 yuan. This can't be a problem, right?" Li Wanhee was completely frightened. Li Yuan comforted, "As long as it's from her, it's no problem. But in the future, if anyone sends anything to our house, we can't accept it, so as not to cause trouble to the Yuling family. You don't want such a good daughter-in-law to run away bar." Li Wanhee hurriedly said, "That can't be done. Li Yuan, even if it's a gift from someone in the village, you can't take it unless it's some worthless vegetables, or someone's caught too many fish to eat. In short, if it's a little bit valuable, you can accept it from whoever gives it. Who should I ask to take it back?" Yuling exposed his identity in an emergency today, and many people in the county know about it. Please be careful in the future and don't take other people's things in a daze, which will make things difficult for the Yuling family. Li Wanhee, then what should I do? I don't understand this either. Li Yuan, it's simple. If anyone asks you to go out to eat or drink, just don't go. If relatives or something call you, don't drink when you go, so as not to be talked about by others if you drink too much. If you want to drink, drink at home. Eat whatever you want. You can either ask the hotel to prepare it and send it to your home, or you can buy the ingredients and make it at home. Li Yuan just needs to stabilize for the time being. When he comes back from the new year, he can deal with it by himself, and the overall situation should be almost the same. Okay. Li Wanhee agreed. Li Yuan took the opportunity to say, "Also, don't take any more work after you've finished it. Someone might have deliberately given you a job. Then you'll charge more, and they'll say they'll give you money. If you charge less, thankless." Li Wanhee suddenly became unhappy. "Then what should I do? You can't find a good girlfriend and our family will be shameless to eat and drink, right? Don't worry. Didn't Sister Ran say that she wants to replan the village? Then just ask her to do the decoration work for you. Sister Ran is one of our own, so you can do her work with confidence and boldness. Then I don't know that it will be the year of the monkey and the month of the horse. Can't I just give you half a year's leave? You may have a grandson someday. How can you not take good care of your body? I have to go to school and I am busy. If I really want to have a grandson, why don't you two have to work hard? Just now how noisy a newborn child is." These words. How to say? Although Li Wanhee sounded a bit unreliable, he was inexplicably looking forward to it. "I feel very happy. It's really noisy. When you called it noisy, I almost wanted to hit someone. So, take good care of yourself and don't tire yourself out. If mom asks, you can tell her what I said. If it doesn't work, just say it was Yuling who said it and ask her to call Yuling." Ling asked about the situation. Okay. Li Wanhee had something in his mind. Now it's just a matter of laziness. Of course, it was definitely not his son's words. How could he listen to his son as a father? Isn't it more important for the daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law's family is not ordinary, so you can't cause trouble to others. Let's marry the daughter-in-law back home first. After everything was moved down, Li Yuan said, "I'll return the car to Sister Ran first." "Well, go ahead, and remember to come back quickly to prepare for dinner." "Good." Li Yuan drove the car towards Zhou Ran's home. As soon as he arrived at the door, he saw Zhou Yufang getting ready to go out. And Zhou Ran was in the house with a child of about 2 years old, smiling happily. Li Yuan had never seen Zhou Ran smile like this. No matter what happened before, she seemed to have some haze in her heart. "Uncle Fang, want to go out?" Li Yuan stopped the car and came over to say hello. Zhou Ranran's expression turned serious the first time she saw him. Xiao Yuan is here, hurry up, come inside and sit down. Your aunt has just left the house. I have to pick her up. You go inside first and talk to Ran. Okay. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 155. What is it like to have a brother who is 18 years older than you? Li Yuan didn't know because he had no chance to experience it. Sister Ran? I haven't seen you for a few days. The child is so old. Li Yuan walked in with a smile. Zhou Ranran said with a straight face, put the key down and go back to where you came from. Li Yuan sat down directly and said, no, I haven't expressed my gratitude yet. My dad won't be happy when I go back. Who asked you to thank me? Go back quickly, I have something to do here later. What else happened? Why didn't I see Xiaoqi? Didn't you ask her to follow you? Zhou Yifang kept the news secret, and they didn't tell anyone about Zhou Ranran's pregnancy. Xiaoqi will be back later. Oh, it turns out they're not here. Then I want to thank Sister Ran. As Li Yuan spoke, he stood up and approached Zhou Ranran. Zhou Ranran looked embarrassed and said hurriedly, my parents will be back soon, can you leave first? I just want to talk to Uncle Yifang. What are you talking about with him? Talk about the kids. You are seeking death. Zhou Ranran was so anxious that he wanted to pinch Li Yuan. Li Yuan directly touched Zhou Ranran's little brother's face and said, why don't we just talk about this guy? He's so old and will have to go to kindergarten in 2 years. What if Uncle Fang wants his child to go to Zhangzhou to study? You can't arrange it? The child's face is so tender that it can heal people's hearts. That will happen in the future, there is no rush now. Let's talk in advance. Seeing Li Yuan's look like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water, Zhou Ranran walked over. He quietly unbuttoned his buttons and said in a low voice, I really don't have time today, Ang, take a look first. Li Yuan hugged Zhou Ranran and said, I just want to see if your life is good recently and if anyone bullies you. Well, it seems pretty good now. Well, I gained 6 pounds. It won't be a problem if I gain another 60 pounds. Heh, you're 60 pounds fatter, and you'll be disgusted faster than anyone else. Zhou Ranran felt that the way Li Yuan looked at him, he was afraid that sooner or later he would compete with his children for food. Not bad, not bad. Zhou Ranran is close to 1.7 meters tall. If he really weighs 160 pounds, it would actually be okay. I'm a little fatter, but not to an outrageous degree. It would be scary if I were so thin that I weighed only 80 pounds. Anyway, Li Yuan doesn't appreciate skeletons. Go back quickly. You haven't eaten yet. I don't have anything for you to eat here. It's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, okay, I'll give you the 10 million in a while. I don't have much cash on hand lately. Li Yuan actually has no money, all the money is in the company. Although the company's money also belongs to him, he cannot take it casually. Well, any time is fine. Zhou Ranran definitely has to ask for it, because now that Li Yuan is doing more and more, he must make things clear with him, lest something really happens in the future and implicate him. Suddenly, she thought of something and said, I asked someone about that child, but it's not Qin Si's. Is it her sister's? Well, her sister died not long after giving birth to the child. The child hasn't registered yet, so something is wrong. Well, I understand. Li Yuan hugged Zhou Ranran, then pinched Zhou Ranran's brother's little face, and then left with a smile. Zhou Ranran discovered that Li Yuanting liked children. The doting in her eyes cannot deceive anyone. When Li Yuan returned home, he saw his mother showing off the jewelry Zhang Yuling gave her. Then he said that he had been married to his father for 20 years and had not received such a gift. He also complained about the son that he had raised in vain for 20 years. Anyway, it's just to suppress others and praise Zhang Yuling. Li Yuan was too familiar with his mother's tricks. Anyway, her family is shameless, so she can complain as much as she wants. And this time Li Wanhe also joined the team that complained about Li Yuan. After all, he collected more than Zhou Wan. While eating, Li Yuan said, "Mom, you can go to the village later to collect some eggs and a few old hens. We should take them with us when we leave and deliver them to Grandpa Yuling." In fact, how could Zhang Yuanqiao be so rare about this thing? It's just that Zhang Yuling gave too many gifts, and Li Yuan was worried that his parents would feel uneasy. So I found this excuse. Hearing this, Zhou Wan said, "Do people care about these things? It's very rare. I don't lack anything else, but I just want to eat something earthy. It would be better if I have a husband like that for 2 or 3 years." Li Yuan knew very well what was valuable in the countryside. Everything from eggs to native chickens can be bought in Zhangzhou. However, it is really difficult to buy ducks that have been raised for several years because there are too few of them. There is also a saying about roosters. When doing important things, rooster blood is needed. Every household will keep 2 or 3 as backup. There are really few male ducks, but they are really delicious. Yes, there is no place in the countryside without these. I'll get them later, forget it, I'll go find them now. Mom, don't worry, we won't leave until after 3 o'clock, let's eat first and then talk. What if someone with something goes out? They will definitely still be there at this time. After saying that, Zhou Wan put down her chopsticks and ran out in a hurry. Seeing this, Li Wanhe could only follow him, leaving only Li Yuan and Zhang Yuling sitting there. Zhang Yuling said in a low voice, "My grandpa is old and can't eat foods that are too supplementary. It's just a filler. In fact, it's almost the same. Maybe it's just a little fatter. Just don't drink the soup. And that duck is so delicious. If your grandpa doesn't want it, I'll take it away when the time comes. The main thing is that you give it to my parents at once. I gave away so many things and didn't let them do anything. I'm worried that they won't be able to take it seriously. The interests are mutual, although they don't have to be equal." Zhang Yuling said thoughtfully, "The two of us were not equal last night, and it hurt me to look at it. You are really good at metaphors." He was also tired last night, and he had almost no sense of experience in the process of guiding newbies. "Swap and exchange again tonight, huh? Li Yuan also needs to collect tuition fees. And, if he remembered correctly, Xu Yanlin's military training should have ended today and she would have a day off tomorrow. Come on, forget it, thinking about these things at this time is a bit irrelevant. For Zhou Wan and Li Wanhe, they must be happy to do something for Zhang Yuling or her family. I collected over 100,000 yuan worth of stuff, and I felt really bad. Fortunately, some common ones in villages are rare among city people. Although the price is not cheap, compared to what Zhang Yuling gave, the gap is huge. An old hen weighing 4 to 5 kilograms only costs about 100 yuan. After gathering the whole village, we finally got more than 2,000 yuan worth of goods. Li Yuan was stunned after seeing it. "Mom, why do you have so many? We can't take them with you either. Just take a symbolic third of them. You can keep the rest in the backyard until we come back next time. The car has been delivered. It's the car driven by Zhang Yuling. It's parked not too far away." Zhou Wan said, "I think the car has a seat. We can't stuff them all in. We still have to drive. Who can bear the strong smell inside? Just take a little bit. Anyway, as long as her grandpa wants to eat it, I will come back to get it on Saturdays and Sundays. There is no distance." "How far?" In the end, Li Yuan convinced Zhou Wan. Zhou Wan was so embarrassed. It wasn't worth much in the first place, but she didn't finish it yet. Pulling Zhang Yuling, it's so hard to let go. It wasn't until Li Yuan urged her to get in the car that Zhou Wan let her go. The car had driven far away and was still standing at the entrance of the village. Through the rearview mirror, Li Yuan could also feel some of his parents' anger. In fact, my parents are not young anymore, and they are all rushing to reach 50. Zhang Yuling's grandfather was only 63. This shows how early Zhang Yuanqiao gave birth. After all, Zhang Yuling is already 24. What can impress a person is sincerity. Compared to men who are reserved, women are obviously more emotional. Li Wanhe didn't show much emotion. But Zhou Wan almost burst into tears at the end, which was a huge shock to Zhang Yuling. After the car drove out for half an hour, she came back to her senses and said, "Husband, will we have a baby?" "No life. But I feel that my grandpa really wants to take care of the children." "Teacher Zhang, having children is your own business. You can't do it just to please others, right? But I will also be happy to please them." "Oh, let's have it, but I haven't reached the legal age for marriage yet, so the child can't be registered in my family's household registration." "He's actually fine now and has a perfect excuse. He couldn't get married anyway. His birthday is in March, and it's only September now. Therefore, in theory, it will take another 2.5 years before he can meet the requirements for obtaining the certificate. During this time, no one could refute his excuse." Zhang Yuling rolled his eyes. "Who cares about your household registration? Isn't my household registration better?" "Not always." Cut. More than an hour later, Li Yuan drove to Zhang Yuanqiao's side. But Zhang Yuanqiao was confused when he saw what Li Yuan took out from the car. "Li Yuan, what are you? There is no way. Your granddaughter will go to my house and spend money without blinking an eye. My parents are not willing to let her go without taking some things from home. They want your granddaughter to finish eating the money she spent at my house woolen cloth." When Zhang Yuanqiao heard this, he immediately laughed. "These things are so good for my taste. I'll take them to the kitchen. I'll keep the chickens and ducks for now, and then I'll eat them freshly killed." He didn't care about these things, mainly what Li Yuan said. "My granddaughter is so awesome that she even ran away to other people's homes." Zhang Yuling said with a smile, "Grandpa, do you really like it? There are many more over there. I will go back in a few days to get some for you. I didn't bring so many this time. I like it, I really like it. I haven't had it for a long time. Go get me some when you have time." Li Yuan on the side said nothing. After all, Zhang Yuling already knew the den. If he had nothing to do, he could go and take a shot. What could he do? And is Zhang Yuling really doing it for that little bit of chicken and duck? "I'm just too lazy to expose her. Naturally, we had dinner here. A pot of old duck soup is very delicious. Zhang Yuanqiao's cook is much better than his mother, and his cooking is even better. But Zhang Yuling can say things that go against his will. It's not as delicious as the one made by Li Yuan's mother." Li Yuan almost spit out a mouthful of soup. "What kind of taste do you have? My parents are not here, so why do I need to praise them?" Zhang Yuanqiao said with a smile, "Then if you have nothing to do, go and eat more. The distance is not far anyway." Zhang Yuling nodded. Yeah, after eating the food there, I feel that other food is not as good." Li Yuan quietly gave Zhang Yuanqiao a thumbs up as he sang along. After dinner, Li Yuan accompanied Zhang Yuanqiao in the living room, drinking tea and chatting. As for Zhang Yuling, he went back to his room and didn't know what he was messing with. Zhang Yuanqiao said, "You have caused great trouble in Zhangzhou this time." Lu Zongnan was scared to death. In a short period of time, no matter how hard you eat, they will not dare to play any tricks. But, there are pros and cons in the future. I'm afraid no one will dare to have a close relationship with you. Li Yuan's move was too cruel, and it also made Zhang Zhou get to know Li Yuan again. When faced with ruthless people, many people will inevitably be more wary when interacting with them. It will be difficult for Li Yuan to find reliable allies in the future. Old man, I work in finance. It's better to have no friends. It's not so easy to do things if you have more friends. Only if you eat what you can afford, don't form cliques, and don't engage in behind-the-scenes deals, will others trust me. Li Yuan's words made Zhang Yuanqiao's eyes light up. He smiled and said, "It seems that you have already thought about what to do next." "Well, we can't live without it. If we don't rely on big trees, we won't make money." Li Yuan knows the domestic market too well, and because there are too many rules, it will be difficult to do what follows. It's not his character to let him wait for a year or two. You will definitely make more money while you are young. You kid, you haven't made any money yet? You can collect 5 to 6 million in management fees a day, and you still make a lot of money in subscription fees. The company's revenue has dropped to 2 billion a year, and how much does it cost? Qingtian Capital's operating costs are very small. Based on its current scale, its annual revenue is around 2 billion, almost all of which is profitable. Li Yuan's original account and those fans could save him 3 to 5 billion in promotion fees a year. This little money is enough. Even you wouldn't take this little money seriously, right? Li Yuan asked. Are you kidding? Don't say 2 billion. Even 200 million is enough for me. Then if someone gave you 2 billion to change your principles and forgive a person who has done you a big wrong, would you forgive him? Zhang Yuanqiao suddenly squinted his eyes, not to mention 2 billion, even 20 billion won't do it. Li Yuan said with a smile, so, you still have to make money, my money is not enough. How much do you think is enough to earn? I don't know. I just need to wait until you feel you can forgive me. Zhang Yuanqiao suddenly came to his senses. I bet Li Yuan was talking about himself just now. What did he ask himself to forgive? At this moment, Zhang Yuling from upstairs suddenly shouted, Li Yuan, come here, there's something I don't understand. Li Yuan greeted Zhang Yuanqiao and walked upstairs. Zhang Yuanqiao looked at the scene and began to make silent calculations in his heart. Headshot. Headshot. A headshot is a must. This damn bastard. Just after a second thought, I still didn't get up from the sofa. Wait and see. When Li Yuan came to Zhang Yuling's room, Zhang Yuling immediately closed the door. Teacher Zhang, is there something you don't understand? As soon as Li Yuan finished speaking, Zhang Yuling jumped directly on him. It's what you taught me last night. I found that I didn't remember it. Could you please demonstrate it to me again, Mr. Li? I will remember it carefully this time. Li Yuan shivered all over. How did he know that Zhang Yuling was going to be at home? Just now, he gave Zhang Yuanqiao a subtle hint, which was to give the old man some psychological foreshadowing in case something happened in the future. Is it true that Zhang Yuling will come in the next second? I feel like your grandpa is going to kill me. Oh, you are going to die anyway, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. My grandpa goes up the stairs very slowly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 156. Li Yuan knew how he got here. At that time, Zhang Yuanqiao greeted them with a smile. Li Yuan also knew how he left. He borrowed a car from the garage and left in a hurry under Zhang Yuanqiao's cannibalistic eyes. Falling out can happen so quickly. However, Li Yuan himself was also at fault. Returning to his residence, he lay on the bed and sorted out what he had gained in the past 2 days. Overall, he was very satisfied. But tomorrow, he will change his trading thinking and try something more exciting, which can be regarded as preparation for war. His real war has not yet begun. He told Lu Hao that the car was broken down and had to be repaired. She sent Chu Yanlin a few more messages. Only then did I know that Chu Yanlin was going to participate in the military training performance tomorrow morning, and there was an opening ceremony in the evening for her to speak. Of course, Chu Yanlin politely said that she had 3 or 4 hours at noon, so she could come and see him. Naturally he refused. After half a month of military training, you should take a good rest. After all, her head teacher has already taken care of it. Immediately afterwards, Chen Ji sent an invitation, saying that he would like to invite him to go hiking next Saturday. This is worth pondering. Because I made things big this time, normally no one would take the initiative to come over and make friends with me. Unless it is a person with interests. Obviously, he and Chen Ji are not people of interest. They have only met twice. You don't know my strengths and weaknesses, and I don't know your ABCD. The world did not stop turning because of his departure, so he was not that important yet. Chen Ji's approach is definitely not a normal friendship. But he still agreed. After all, no matter what, there was still the friendship of a flower basket. When I woke up, it was already Monday. Only when Li Yuan came to the company did he know that there were 10 billion subscription funds last Friday. This represents at least 200,000 users. The extra 10 billion is exactly what he wants. After arriving at the company, Yu took the lead in expressing concern and asked whether the company's security should be increased and whether Li Yuan should be equipped with personal bodyguards. Li Yuan rejected it, but there is still no problem in arranging a driver. The fund has been closed, and he will only have to deal with redemptions every day. Li Yuan does not have to increase his workload every day as before. After the market opened, Lianying technology still did not move. 16 one-word boards were born and deservedly became the most popular stock in A shares. Although Tianchuan shares also gave a thumbs up, there are still funds that are constantly testing the market in an attempt to crack open. The people behind quantitative funds are definitely much better than Lu Shangyuan, and their overall strength is not on the same level. Li Yuan was not sure if he wanted to continue going up. It was not that they had no cards in their hands, they were just weighing the gains and losses. If another 2 billion chips are thrown out, no one will be able to catch it. But they didn't dare to smash it, for fear that if they were caught, their only escape route would be cut off. When the risks are not proportional to the rewards, they will only adopt conservative thinking. Even if it were to be smashed, it wouldn't be in this position. Because every daily limit means an increase in pressure. If you smash it now, the chance of being accepted is 20%, then if you smash it tomorrow, the chance of being accepted is only 15%. If there were 10 more boards, the probability of being accepted would be less than 1%. Now they can raise another 2 billion. After 10 rounds, those chips will be worth 5 billion, and the profit margin will be even greater after breaking them open. After the market opened, Tianchuan shares were sold for 30 million, and Li Yuan followed suit with 50 million. Because he has too many chips in his hand. The current position is just a little higher than the cost line of Tianfu Capital, so no matter how much Li Yuan sells, they have to take over. He decided to throw 50 million every day. On the one hand, it is to stabilize the quantitative side and make them a little patient, lest they can't help but smash after 1 or 2 boards. After all, large amounts of money are traded every day, so for them, they can wait. Wait until you can get chips without paying too much cost. It's like giving them something to eat to hook them up. On the other hand, I wanted to let the people at Tianfu Capital get used to the rhythm, so as not to be surprised and they couldn't help it before I finished running. 50 million is not a big deal. Now they absolutely cannot run. After 6 consecutive games, they have turned a profit, but their book profit is less than 10 points. The total capital scale has reached more than 7 billion. With so many chips and no room for 50 points, it is impossible to escape unscathed. Even if it is not done properly, 50 points of space will not be enough. They must pull 4 or 5 more boards, and then run away at least 1/3 of the chips at a high position before they have room to operate later. If you can run away half of it, then that's acceptable. Li Yuan also paid attention to another stock, Highland Barley Wine Industry. It is considered a market maker stock. Just made a high transfer, get 15 for 10. After the X writes today, the stock price fell directly to the limit. High transfer stocks are very risky. On the one hand, there is an expectation of filling in the rights. On the other hand, it also means an increase in equity, which makes trading more difficult, and big funds will run away. Of course, the most important thing is that high transfers are generally accompanied by playing screens. The lower stock price makes it easier to attract retail investors to enter the market. At the same time, the number of shares in the hands of big market makers increases, making it easier for them to make arbitrage. The market value of Highland Barley Wine Industry is only 6 billion, with almost 100% tradable shares. The top 10 shareholders together hold less than 30% of the shares, and more than half of them are institutional holdings. It can be said that it has completely become a toy for capital speculation. Build a warehouse for Highland Barley Wine Industry, with a bottom warehouse of 5 million, and inhale it in batches. Li Yuan gave the order. In the past, he didn't want to play this kind of betting, because it was too troublesome to make money in the stock market, because other people had a lot of chips, and when it came to other people's territory, they had the final say on how the market would go. If you are lucky, people will cooperate with you for a certain period of time and you will be buried if you don't retreat in time. It's better to retreat in time, and you can make a small profit of 10 or 8 points. He doesn't know how the Highland Barley Wine Industry will develop today. But he knew one thing, the banker inside would not run away easily. It took them several years of fighting on the same ticket before they gradually formed a team mentality, and whoever left had a bad idea. The stocks outside are more dangerous. Zhuanggu is different from outside stocks. Zhuanggu does not require how much profit it makes, as long as it is profitable. Investing hundreds of millions, they can stay there as long as they can beat bank interest rates. Only 5 or 6 funds are needed to have absolute control over the market. Everyone takes turns drinking soup, day after day, year after year. If there is a big market situation, everyone will eat meat together and digest it for 2 or 3 years before re-entering the market. In fact, these techniques are the favorites of Wall Street. There are so many financial companies on Wall Street, and the level of chaos is compared to that in China, where they are not even allowed to carry shoes. What rules? It's all nonsense. For example, there is a company A with assets of $2 billion. It needs to make achievements to attract more funds. Therefore, there will be Company B, Company C, and Company Z to help him create super profit data to ensure that he can absorb enough funds. When he absorbs enough funds, he will start helping other companies. This is no different from the stock market. The more than 7,000 small cap stocks in the US stock market are all born for this. They have a very tacit understanding. In this way, more and more funds are absorbed, and the natural leverage becomes larger and larger. Even the entire US stock market can be regarded as a super large market maker. Just like the domestic property market, its main function is to store water. No matter what kind of funds, it will flow into the stock market. Although there are outflows, the outflows cannot compare with the overissuance of currencies and will naturally continue to rise. The stamp duty, shareholding reduction, and IPO attributes of A shares are also included in US stocks, and they are all acts of pumping money. But there is no bull market in A shares, or even if it comes, it will be short-lived. This is because the overissuance of currency itself is not much, and most of it is shared by the real estate market, so it is not the stock market's turn. Of course, the so-called not much is only relative. The country has a large population and many projects, and unlike the third brother, who only needs to be responsible for 200 million people, the total amount of excess currency is not low. Also, the size of A shares is not small. It is useless to bring in tens of hundreds of billions, and it will be digested in 10 days and a half. The third brother's stock market capacity is only a little more, and even the Nikkei volume, which was previously used as a reference for the wind vane, has been far behind A shares. When the A share index can break through 6,000 points again, it means that the beautiful country's position as the world's #1 has changed hands. Otherwise, it would be impossible to raise such a large amount of funds. Just 10 minutes later, Li Yuan's Highland barley wine industry had completed building a warehouse. At this point in time, he selected several other stocks, all of which he had done his homework on last night. They always make a bottom position first and then look at the market situation. In one of them, he only bought a few million, and the market became loose. In this situation, he decisively gave up and stayed there to look for opportunities to come out. The banker inside simply has no dreams, as if he is afraid that others will steal a sip of his soup. The Highland barley wine industry is good, with a market value of more than 6 billion, which is very suitable for development. 30 million, taking over the lower limit of the Highland barley wine industry, and then placing 100 million at this position. At present, the Highland barley wine industry has only 30 million funds above the limit. He can't ignite it directly, because even if it drops to the limit after high transfer, there is still a profit for the banker inside. If he dared to light a fire at all costs, he would definitely be trapped inside. The funds are not flexible enough, and there is a rule about raising cards. Li Yuan didn't want to play outside the game. Once you raise your sign, you will be completely reduced to someone else's carnival, and after the carnival, you will be left with chicken feathers everywhere. It's like lending your newly bought house to someone else for a party, only to find that it's a mess and they leave. You still have to clean up the messy room, repaint the walls, and replace the furniture. It's my fault that I went to my grandma's house. So let me say hello first, which means that I want to join you. I have specially brought girls and performances. Don't you agree? Then I will prevent your party from happening. If I find you having a meeting, I will act as a troublemaker. I want the lower limit position. Who agrees? Who disagrees? If someone throws away his 100 million in funds, he will not participate, and the chips in his hand will be used to discuss these people, unless there are funds to make up for the drawboard in the future. This is the most dangerous move he has made so far. Before you have a bottom position, you are less than 50% sure. After having a bottom position, the certainty increases a little, but it is not more than 70%. Compared with the previous ones who were 70% sure before making a move, and 90% sure after the test, it was completely different. Under his operation, the Highland barley wine industry changed almost instantly. First, I entered the market with funds and grabbed millions of chips, which raised 2 points. But then someone smashed it down, and it briefly broke through the limit. His 100 million buy order only had 80 million left. Continue to add another 20 million. If you don't eat him in one go, you won't be out. Capital is actually very simple. Within the rules, you can play whatever you want. Playing on fundamentals and value investing are all meaningless indicators. If you have big funds, do it. If you have small funds, do it. Read more books and newspapers, and don't wear condoms when you meet a rich woman. Either become a winner in life or be beaten to death by a rich woman. Anyway, when you go to the gambling table, you have to be mentally prepared for any outcome in advance. If you lose, you are inferior in skill. Luck. Small capital still depends on luck, big capital depends entirely on strength. In this way, over and over again, the Highland barley wine industry never directly destroyed all Li Yuan's chips. Li Yuan replenished funds intermittently several times, and the position reached 100 million before he knew it. Seeing him replenishing funds again, the chips inside no longer were thrown out, but began to go long to increase the price. In half an hour, it pulled directly from the lower limit to about 6 points above the water, and then moved sideways. Li Yuan knew that he was waiting for him to seal the deal. It was impossible for them to let Li Yuan just lie down and make profits. The last 4 closing points were also the most difficult market today. Without 1 or 2 billion, it would be difficult to get it. As long as Li Yuan uses 1 or 200 million, even if he takes 100 million chips at the lowest point, the profit will be only 7 or 8 points, and there will still be enough room to lock him in tomorrow. They will not give Li Yuan the initiative. Immediately seal the board with 200 million yuan. Li Yuan gave the order. He can only enter a little more than 200 million, otherwise he will trigger a raise. If 200 million yuan can't seal the board, it's not his problem. Even a fool knows that he has already shot out all his bullets. However, no accident occurred. It only cost 160 million to successfully seal the deal. When the other party saw that the funds on the board were only tens of millions, they added tens of millions more. It was not opened until the close of business. There are several other stocks, which are similar. Only some of them broke through Li Yuan's orders, but they later made up for it themselves. Stock trading is a process of funds moving from divergence to consensus. What affects the final result is nothing more than 2 words. Bold, careful, and dirty. Wrapping up on Monday. Tianchuan shares and Lianying Technology each earn 200 million every day, which is a fixed floating profit. Today's floating profit is considered to be higher than any previous day, reaching 2.4 billion. There were 44 billion funds before the opening, and 46.4 billion funds at the close. Net worth, 2.4739, at 5.45%. It seems like he hasn't made more than 5 points in a long time. After closing, he called Song Jiajia. Senior, are you in the company? I'll come over later. I have a new project that I want to trouble you with. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 157. After Li Yuan came to Jushan Media, he met Song Jiajia in the office. Then he talked about Qin Si. Daily internet celebrities and local internet celebrities are always the most cohesive. In terms of personal image, Qin Si is impeccable and is very suitable for taking this route. However, she needs someone to customize the script and someone to help her with other tasks. She is only responsible for performing it. Song Jiajia looked at the arrangements given by Li Yuan seriously. From the costumes, characters, shooting techniques, plot arrangements, and editing rhythm, everything is explained clearly. At present, the company's several big internet celebrities are almost all arranged by Li Yuan. They do what Li Yuan asks and they are the kind of people who stuff food into their mouths. Song Jiajia didn't know whether it would succeed, but Li Yuan's arrangement was impeccable. This made her feel more and more that she, the general manager, had no other use except buying lunch boxes. So, after listening to Li Yuan's arrangement, she agreed. But he quickly said, "Junior, let me tell you something." "What's going on?" Seeing that the senior is not very interested, could it be some staff member who provoked the senior? No matter who it is, the senior can just open the door. If it's one of those big internet celebrities, their salary will be deducted. He thinks tool people like Song Jiajia are pretty good. They have basic abilities and can understand their own ideas. They don't have so many messy things. A bit similar to Yu from Qingtian Capital, he is becoming more and more comfortable in using it. After all, These two companies are group companies in name, but in fact, they are his personal studio. At this time, speaking out is a must. Only when the scale becomes larger in the future will he consider decentralizing power. If a disobedient internet celebrity is poached, he will be sold and allowed to harm other companies. Song Jiajia suddenly rolled her eyes and said, "Who dares to bully me? The main reason is that my family has become rich recently and they expect me to go back and inherit the family business." Ah! Song Jiajia chuckled and said coquettishly, "My pig farm is going public. The market value will soon be 20 billion. My dad will give me 5% of the shares. My sister will soon be a rich woman with a net worth of nearly 1 billion. There is no need to work." Li Yuan. Good guy, so fierce? Senior, do you really not want to be in the company anymore? It's not that I don't want to, the main reason is that my dad has to let me go home to manage the company, otherwise he won't give me shares. When I get the money in the future, I can invest in my juniors. She would not admit that she could not find a sense of presence in Jushin media. It's better to go home and manage a pig farm. At least making money really has something to do with her. Anyway, you don't need to use your brain. At present, at Jushin media, all the work using brains is contracted by Li Yuan, and there is no work involving physical strength. Li Yuan thought for a moment and said, "Then just follow what the senior said." "When is the senior going to leave?" "I would like to treat the senior to a meal. It will be in the middle of next month. I will definitely complete the tasks you just handed over today, and I will not leave until we are on the right track. However, I can already start looking for a new general manager, and I will cooperate with him in handing over the work." "Okay, then I'll have to work hard for another month, senior sister." "There is still enough time, and work handover is also very simple. The main reason is that Li Yuan is busy now, and Jushin Media does not need to find a headhunting company. We will wait and see. At worst, just promote someone from the company." Then I will go there with my own hands tomorrow." "Good." After leaving Jushin Media, Li Yuan returned to his residence. He couldn't really keep Song Jiajia busy for so long. Even if it didn't work out, he should treat her to a meal and give her a gift. He opened the stock trading software on his mobile phone and looked for recently listed stocks. Because he had seen relevant news a few days ago. Pig raising, just launched, almost 20 billion. It's actually easy to find. Song's shares. He could even recall seeing the relevant reports last Monday. On the first day of listing, it soared 44%, and has continued to do so until now, with a total market value of 18.5 billion. Indeed, after the board is closed tomorrow, the market value of Song's shares will exceed 20 billion. He has no impression of this stock. He has paid attention to a lot of pork stocks, but he has no impression of this company. It is probably dead. Either it will become a junk stock, and even the bookmakers will not be willing to deal with it, and the entire company will have no meaning at all. Or it will be directly swallowed up by large companies. He couldn't understand why a company as good as Songsco Limited had to go public. And what's outrageous is that they also pledged 10% of their shares to brokers. Why give it to a broker? Of course, if you can get money, you can still understand that you may not have much confidence in the company. However, no matter which way you look at it, the person at the helm of Song Group Co. Limited does not have enough understanding of the securities market, nor does he have enough respect for it. Maybe he thinks going public means getting rich? Ba ba ba. You said the wrong thing. Song Jiajia's father is just relatively simple, unlike those who play with financial capital and have a dirty heart. He really couldn't help with this matter. It was too late to say anything now. He could only wait for the knife to fall. Of course, no knife is the best. Go to sleep and wake up, Tuesday is here. Li Yuan still unwaveringly sold 50 million Tianchuan shares, and Lianying Technology continued to hold it. Yesterday, Lu Shangyuan's side received 17 boards, and today it was 18 boards. The direct loss should reach about 5 billion. He is the least worried about this ticket, because the hole on Lu Shangyuan's side cannot be filled at all, and there are many people willing to take the chips in his hand. But today he still released 60 million at the daily limit. 18 consecutive games. How many times have risk warnings been issued? Li Yuan flipped through it casually, starting with the 4 Connect board and sending it out once a day. But there is nothing the China Securities Regulatory Commission can do because Lianying Technology's chips are too concentrated. It is not a market behavior at all, but it has entered such a situation invisibly. Who can you blame? Blame those malicious short sellers. But now they are suffering the most. Blame the chairman? Major shareholders? Is it any wonder that shareholders protect the rights and interests of shareholders? And what they got out was real money. It's not that they maliciously raise the stock price, but that the stocks in their hands are restricted from trading and cannot be traded. Anyway, everyone has a point. The wings of Li Yuan, a butterfly, are already big enough. Without him, Lianying Technology would not have gotten out of this extreme market situation. Tianchuan shares are relatively normal so far, not extreme. Even if it has been rising and falling for a period of time, even if it is a 7-game losing streak today, it is not that outrageous. The Highland barley wine industry, which closed yesterday, opened at the limit. For Li Yuan, it was unexpected but also reasonable. However, the closing funds at the lower limit level are only 20 million. This was calculated against him. He still has a position to enter. The Highland barley wine industry has 30 million chips to eat down and stop. As Li Yuan gave the order, the trader quickly took action. In the blink of an eye, the chips on the lower limit board were eaten up, and it was also pulled up by 7 or 8 levels. This seems to be a signal. The original funds inside also began to enter the game. Li Yuan saw this and immediately said, "Start placing sales orders for the Highland barley wine industry. The capital for a single order shall not exceed 500,000 yuan. The orders will be placed at 3 points on the water." He can't make a big move, the banker here is really evil. Damn it, I knew yesterday that my position was full, and today I have to pry it off myself. Just leave yourself with no way out, either raise your sign, or just stay still. Without flexible chips, they can only let them cut the meat bit by bit on the plate. They wanted to play this trick, but Li Yuan didn't want to play with them like this. He needs to cause trouble. Not only the Highland barley wine industry, but also several stocks that entered the market yesterday became violent. There is also a trend similar to the Highland barley wine industry. Li Yuan seriously doubts that the same bookmaker is behind these two stocks. Of course, there are also those who just say the same thing, which saves a lot of effort. It wouldn't go well, he understood. Yesterday is nothing, he has no bottom position, and the other party doesn't know where his upper limit is, so it's all a test. Today is the serious game. The opponent knows that he has no room to operate, and he wants to steal some space. With a bottom position in his hand, even if he is playing T, he will play with the opponent until death. With the efforts of several traders, in more than half an hour, as Li Yuan issued dozens of instructions, some space slowly began to be cleared. The Highland barley wine industry sold 60 million yuan. This is money making. Because yesterday he took over RMB 100 million at the lower limit, and today he started selling at 3 points on the water, making a profit of more than 20 points. However, the overall profit is not much, only 13 points in total, which may be wiped out at any time. As long as it continues to hit the limit today, the floating profit will be gone. The other party pulled it to 6 points on the water and stopped. Just like yesterday, it meant that Li Yuan was still in charge. Shit. I have no position. Don't you guys know that? Li Yuan didn't take action. Because those bookmakers must know that he has no position. If he continues to pull up at this time, it means that he has come out midway. He won't pull. It's a penny to play back and forth. Is it selling for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands? Just like that, before I knew it, at 2:40 in the afternoon, the Highland barley wine industry was completely sideways, changing hands little by little within the amplitude of 2 cents. Li Yuan was so exhausted as a trader that he finally withdrew 90 million from the Highland barley wine industry, including the previous ones. Of course, the trader is not tired of this ticket, but other tickets. For Li Yuan, the most tiring thing about such a trading method is not his brain, but his throat. He may have to issue thousands of instructions in 4 hours, and his voice is smoking when he speaks. Finally, people in the Highland barley wine industry couldn't bear it anymore and began to pull up 2 points. There was only 2 points left before the daily limit. Highland barley wine industry, spend 50 million on it. Li Yuan started smashing without hesitation. It can also be regarded as expressing one's attitude. Don't you guys pull? Then I won't play with you. This is a very normal thinking. Even if he spends 50 million yuan, he still has more than 200 million yuan in hand for the funds inside. So they are not afraid of smashing. He even helped Li Yuan smash it. When the stock price returned to the lower limit again, no one bought it. Highland barley wine industry, 50 million lower than the limit to get chips. When he took the chips, the funds inside began to rise decisively, and even reached 9 points above the water, just one line away from the daily limit. Still not closed. The main focus is on the behavior of a scumbag. Every time he stabs you halfway, he doesn't care. Even if he is just one step away from the climax, he will stop for you. And there is no undertaking below. The dozens of stalls that can be seen probably don't even have a capital of 10 million in total. Obviously, he was afraid that Li Yuan would run away. Highland barley wine industry, the late bidding directly used 100 million Laban. The guys inside are really oily, and the more this happens, the more fun it is. In the future, the daily amplitude will be very large, with strong room for arbitrage. It depends on who strikes quickly, who strikes hard, and who is the scumbag. Tianfu Capital. Shen Tianfu never left after the market closed today. All his energy was trapped by Tianchuan shares. Today's book floating profit is very high, several hundred million floating profit. If he can escape unscathed now, not only will he not lose money, but he will also make huge profits, which is unprecedented in trading. The problem is, they can't sell it. It will collapse as soon as it is sold, and all the floating profits are like the moon in the water and the flowers in the mirror. Several times he tried to sneak a little away. After all, the most important thing is to ensure your own interests first. But in the past few days, people have been throwing tens of millions at it. For them, the board cannot be opened. If you open the board, you will die. Without forcing those who sell securities into a hurry and raising the margin for short orders to a high level, their apparent victory will be nothing at all. So he didn't dare to run away at all, fearing that if he ran away tens of millions, he would ruin a good situation. Even if he knew that those tens of millions might have been thrown out by Li Yuan, they still had to endure it and grit their teeth to accept it. The situation is very strange. They obviously have absolute control of the market, but in fact they still decide the market based on other people's faces. They have put all their bets on it and there is little room for maneuver. You can only attract market-beating funds to take over the market through the continuous market trend. Basically, 10 to 20 million funds rush in every day. However, you can't delay it too long. The funds usually leave after 2 or 3 days, and maybe there will be an avalanche on Friday. From the beginning of drinking poison to quench their thirst, to now fighting poison with poison, they have long been poisoned. He called his investor's housekeeper. "Steward Pang, I am Shen Tianfu. Fortunately, I have lived up to my destiny. Not only have I made back all my previous losses this time, but I should be able to earn another billion in total." He did not deceive investors into not understanding the market, but he believed that without personally participating in Tianchuan shares, he could not see the situation clearly. If Li Yuan gives him a chance, he can still escape. If he doesn't give him a chance, he will just linger for a few days. After hanging up the phone, I received another call not long after. "The child is back." He breathed a sigh of relief, but the crisis was still there. He didn't even dare to say anything on the phone, fearing that his phone had been monitored. After returning, he called Anna Shen. "Have you contacted Li Yuan?" "I don't." "Can't you be shameless? Can't you kneel and lick? You must deal with Li Yuan within 3 days, otherwise it will be all over." He hung up the phone angrily. He knew from the beginning that Anna Shen had not succeeded, but Li Yuan still helped. He thought Li Yuan was waiting for Anna Shen to come to the door again. As a result, Anna Shen has not contacted Li Yuan until now. It's definitely not that Anna Shen didn't do it, this matter is Anna Shen's only value, and he was also reminding her during this time. It could only be that Li Yuan didn't pay attention at all. The knife hanging around his neck was always there. Sitting in the study, holding a string of beads in his hand, moving the beads back and forth. Although he used book data to stabilize those investors, he was definitely under greater surveillance than last Friday. You shouldn't be greedy for the 10 million. If he wasn't greedy for the 10 million, he could run away on Thursday. Maybe now that I have a few $1,000,000, I can secretly live a good life abroad. There is almost no chance now, he can't get the money, and most importantly, he has no chance to keep his son. He could have kept both his son and his money, but now if Li Yuan doesn't give him a chance, he won't be able to keep either. In his life, he seems to have died of greed. Let's start with those few points from Tianchuan shares. Before he knew it, it was 12 o'clock, and he habitually looked at the net worth of Qingtian mixed small and medium caps. Even if I look at it every day, I regret it once. 2.6025, add 5.19%. He couldn't imagine that this fund with a scale of more than 40 billion and soon 50 billion could still make so much money in such a bad market. If you invested 100 million at the beginning, it has now become 260 million. Li Yuan only made about 1.2 billion a day before, and his net worth was getting lower and lower. But starting from this Monday, it suddenly started to change. It seems that it was not Li Yuan's limit before. Boom! He clenched his fist and smashed the table. It's all because Anna Shen didn't handle this relationship well. He completely forgot how he did it in the first place, because people are tolerant enough to themselves. Especially if you encounter a problem that you can't bear at all, you will just dump it on others for the first time. In a daze, he fell asleep in the study. After waking up, I simply washed up and went to the company. He decided to risk a batch of chips today to give himself a chance of survival. It was almost impossible for Anna Shen to use her trump card, and Li Yuan didn't even look at it. What else could he do next? He doesn't care what allies he has, as long as he doesn't suffer any losses. A dead Taoist friend is not a poor Taoist. After the market opened, he withdrew his pending order, leaving only some market-making funds and funds used by his allies to support the market. There are still about 300 million left to seal the board. 8 consecutive boards. In this position, he makes a lot of money. Unfortunately, there are too many chips. He tentatively paid out 50 million, deliberately pretending to be the same funds as the previous shipment, so as not to be noticed by his allies. But the moment he smashed out the 50 million, someone suddenly smashed out 1 billion. Well, 1 billion. It directly pushed Tianchuan shares from the daily limit to the lower limit. It took 46 seconds. Shen Tianfu was trembling all over. Besides Li Yuan, who else could be there? Do you dare to do this in quantification? Li Yuan clearly didn't want to give him a way to survive. Did I offend you by stealing 50 million? Who do you think you are? They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 158. Li Yuan's violent counterattack broke Shen Tianfu's last illusion. Either die now or die 2 days later. He was scared. So he threw back the 50 million he had escaped. Because Li Yuan left him a 50 million closing order at the limit. As soon as he spent 50 million, he immediately had funds to start buying goods. Tian Chuan shares soon hit the daily limit again. And his face was pale, as if he was being judged again at this moment. He couldn't escape, not at all. Only Li Yuan has the ability to disrupt the situation. They can only wait until Li Yuan eats the rest, which is theirs. The bargaining chip in their hands is no longer a bargaining chip, but a burden. 1 million rabble cannot defeat 30,000 elite soldiers. Quantitatively, about 4 billion in funds will be spent, and Li Yuan will eat 3 billion. When it is their turn, they can only eat 1 billion, and they may not even be able to eat it. After all, at that time, the opponent had enough chips and was fully capable of fighting them again. He didn't even wait for the market to close in the afternoon. He left the company after 11:30 and called Li Yuan. While waiting for the call to be connected, I felt very tormented. He was afraid that Li Yuan would not answer the phone, and he was also afraid that after the call was answered, Li Yuan would laugh at him crazily like a winner. In the past half-month, his mentality has been like this. After ringing for a long time, the phone finally got connected. Li Yuan's voice came over, "Mr. Shen, I'm sorry. I wasted a little time in order to start the call recording and kept you waiting for a long time." With one sentence, Shen Tianfu swallowed back the words he had been thinking about for a long time. Why did Mr. Li think of recording the call? Li Yuan said, "There is nothing we can do about it. I work in the same industry as Mr. Shen. When I receive a call during the opening stage, according to the rules, a sample must be kept, so that if there is a dispute in the future, it can be used as evidence." Shen Tianfu gritted his teeth and said, "What if I beg Mr. Li to let me go?" "What? Tian Chuan shares, let me contribute 1 billion, I am grateful. He is already very humble." "What? What? Damn it, what the hell is this iPhone? The signal is so rubbish." Toot toot. The call was hung up. Shen Tianfu's teeth were almost broken. He came to ask for help in such a low voice, but Li Yuan used such a poor excuse. Does Apple mobile phone have call recording function? If it were a different phone, could the signal suddenly become worse? If he is inconsistent, what do you think he is? Be a clown? Even when facing those investors, he never said such humble words. If he was willing to be a dog, he would be better than now. This time he felt Li Yuan's control firsthand, and he couldn't bear the loss of having nothing, so he made up his mind to kneel down for Li Yuan. As a result, he knelt down and he turned around and ran away. Grass. Li Yuan came out of the bathroom and Vukan cursed at Shen Tianfu. "Damn it, your brain is sick. You almost killed me. Your face is worth nothing. Do you want me to go to jail?" Once he agrees to this matter, if someone wants to mess with him later, it will be equivalent to putting evidence into other people's hands. Besides, why should he help Shen Tianfu? If it affects his interests, even if it is his own father, he will think twice. Shen Tianfu is a fool. He made a fortune from Tian Chuan shares today. He sold 1 billion at the daily limit, and then received back a sum of chips, using less than 500 million. It was equivalent to him forcing another batch of chips into the mouths of Shen Tianfu and others, and he had already reaped the profits. All in all, if he is not full, others will not be able to use their chopsticks. Want to force yourself to use chopsticks? Then flip the table yourself. See who wants to eat more. Opening at 1 p.m. The Highland barley wine industry opened 9 points higher in the early trading. The reason was that it was suddenly pulled during the bidding stage at the end of yesterday's trading. They didn't know who did it. Worry about other big funds coming in. They can allow retail investors to enter and exit small funds at will, because they cannot take away much money. But now in this position, with big money coming in, they must take stock. Because if you are not careful, you will lose your base. Li Yuan is following them now, and there is a possibility of change at any time. All he has to do is seize every opportunity. This kind of high-risk ticket cannot predict the future, but it is really fun to do it in the market. Open and close, there are constantly funds entering the strangulation game. It never reaches the daily limit easily, but it approaches the daily limit 3 or 4 times a day. It's just a pure capital market. By the time the market closed, the barley wine industry had only slightly increased by 2 points. Anyway, the continuous trading mode will not be enabled. When this kind of ticket opens the continuous trading mode, it means that the market has come to an end. No one is willing to continue to do it inside. The funds inside are getting less and less, and there is an urgent need for external funds to proceed. Replenish. It is the so-called introduction of third parties, fourth parties, or even the 100th party of funds to come in and strangle. As long as the price limit does not rise, Li Yuan will keep playing in it. After closing, Li Yuan saw a message from Zhang Yuling, asking him if he would like to come to school for dinner after get off work and take a look at the apartment she lived in at school. Li Yuanqi likes to eat school food so much, it is cheap and delicious. In addition, I am really tired of staying in the company and I really want to relax after using my brain too much. So, he drove here. The car I'm driving now was driven from Zhang Yuanqiao's garage. It doesn't have a particularly conspicuous brand, it's just ordinary. In fact, he feels a little uncomfortable driving the current car. The comfort itself is poor, and there are almost no smart configurations. Unless you let the driver drive and sit in the back seat, the riding experience of some cars can be improved. But I definitely don't want to take a driver with me today. He parked the car on the roadside in front of the school and walked into the campus. There are no serious places to eat in the school. The second floor of the academy restaurant is almost the only option. Of course, there are a few stalls that are okay, but they are all snacks and there is no choice in dishes. After Li Yuan came here, Zhang Yuling was already waiting upstairs. After searching for a long time, he found that Zhang Yuling had found a corner position. There are also private rooms here, but they won't be opened unless there are more than 6 people. It's not a matter of money or not, it's just not giving. After seeing Li Yuan coming, Zhang Yuling acted very calmly. After all, she didn't dare to show anything at school. As soon as Li Yuan sat down opposite her, she stretched out her legs. Of course, there is no expression on the surface. I almost didn't find your place. Actually, you don't have to eat this meal. You can just pack some from the cafeteria and take it back. It's okay, you don't usually meet acquaintances here. While talking, Zhang Yuling handed the menu to Li Yuan. This restaurant is neither high nor low, and indeed very few students come here, mostly young couples and the like. Li Yuan said, I'm not afraid of meeting acquaintances, but I'm afraid that I won't be able to let go. Zhang Yuling. Damn it, he was right. Otherwise, I wouldn't have chosen such a remote location. If I didn't go to the very back, I wouldn't be able to see the two of them at all. Moreover, there are private rooms nearby, which are rarely used on weekdays, and there are very few people walking this way. The waiters hate serving food here. Li Yuan's dishes had not yet been ordered, when suddenly a voice came from the side. Teacher Zhang, seniors, are you here to eat too? Zhang Yuling's attention was all on Li Yuan, so he didn't pay attention to his surroundings. After hearing the sound, he turned around and saw that it was Wen Yuxian and 3 other girls from Wen Yuxian's dormitory. Her heart skipped a beat. It was rare to panic in front of students. Before she could speak, Li Yuan put down the menu and asked, "Yuxian, are you having dinner with your roommate?" Wen Yuxian said, "Yes." "Then do you want to have something to eat together? Teacher Zhang is treating us today." Wen Yuxian felt a little weird. So he said, "Senior, do you and Teacher Zhang have something else to talk about? We won't bother you and find another seat." Zhang Yuling breathed a sigh of relief. It was Li Yuan's clever move to retreat in order to advance. But the next second, Li Yuan said, "We've already finished talking. It's just a little thing about the course. And the 4 of you and the 2 of us can just gather 6 to open a private room and order a few more dishes." Zhang Yuling wanted to step on Li Yuan. They had clearly taken people away just now, and they had to take them back by force. Wen Yuxian said, "Then let me treat you. We are a little embarrassed to let Teacher Zhang treat us." Zhang Yuling said helplessly, "I'll do it. You invited me to the class dinner the day before yesterday." After the military training ended the morning before yesterday, Wen Yuxian's class went out for a dinner, and naturally she, the class teacher, was invited. Li Yuan knew that the most embarrassing part of this matter was coming. The students didn't want the teacher to treat him, but it was unreasonable for Zhang Yuling not to treat him. He couldn't take advantage of the students. "I'll invite you. Let's go to the box first. If he doesn't speak up, there's a high probability that the fight will continue for a while. It's just right now." He deliberately asked Wen Yuxian to stay, mainly because he had not been filming material with Wen Yuxian recently to create popularity. "I don't have time to post videos, so I will definitely take the opportunity to do something when I encounter it now. Even though Qingtian Mix's small and medium caps cannot be subscribed now, there will always be a day when subscriptions will be opened. And at this stage, the more people who understand, the greater the rebound power accumulated in the future. When everyone is qualified to buy, they will not promote themselves spontaneously because they are worried that investing too much money will dilute their profits. Nowadays, a large number of people who want to buy have no chance to buy them, and their attitudes will be completely different. Will gradually become his fans, and then spread his reputation everywhere. Those who held positions before will also show off their fund returns. Anyway, don't worry if you show it off, others can't buy it." At this time, Li Yuan has no conflict of interest with anyone. The Jihu Bureau led by Zhang Yuling has not hacked him recently, but is fighting on the front line with those serious little black men. Entering the box, Wen Yuxian's roommates were very restrained at first. They all know who Li Yuan is, and they have paid a lot of attention to him during this period. Later, as Li Yuan took the initiative to greet them, one girl even plucked up the courage to ask for WeChat, and Li Yuan gave it to her. The scene became active. If Li Yuan was an ordinary person and the boyfriend of his roommate, no one would ask him for WeChat. But who makes Li Yuan's identity extraordinary? It seems so reasonable to ask for WeChat. Li Yuan spent most of the time chatting with Wen Yuxian about the daily life of college, asking Wen Yuxian if he was used to it in college, and Wen Yuxian would also talk about military training. Zhang Yuling felt the breath of love. Ah! Didn't Li Yuan say that he and Wen Yuxian were hyping up? Shouldn't it be fake and real? Why are you peeling shrimps for her while eating? Hello. Who in the right mind would eat shrimp peeled by someone else? The shrimp you peel yourself has a soul, right? Teacher Zhang? How about I peel a shrimp for you too? Call. If there were only 2 people, Zhang Yuling would definitely not refuse. Huh? I don't need to bother, I'll do it myself. The classmates didn't notice anything unusual about Zhang Yuling because she always had that serious expression. Only Li Yuan, who was relatively close to her, could feel it because his foot was stepped on. At the dinner table, Wen Yuxian's roommate also took several photos, basically capturing the intimate actions of Li Yuan and Wen Yuxian. After all, they can post it online and earn traffic for themselves. As long as Li Yuan and Wen Yuxian don't prohibit anything, they can do it. After eating, Li Yuan paid the bill. Then he sent Wen Yuxian to the downstairs of the girls' dormitory. At that time, many people gathered to watch. Fortunately, everyone was a college student, so there was no blockage. To put it bluntly, he is not a big star. If an A-list celebrity comes, maybe everyone will be willing to come and have a taste of it. If it were Phoenix Legend, the doorman would have to take out his cell phone to take a picture. When they arrived at the bottom of the dormitory building, next to the no-no sign for boys, Wen Yuxian reluctantly let go of Li Yuan's hand, turned around and went upstairs with her roommate. Li Yuan also left. In just over an hour, he discovered that Wen Yuxian's acting talent was so great that he even thought that the two were really in love. The phone in my pocket kept vibrating. He took it out and saw that Zhang Yuling was already there urging him. All messages convey only one meaning. I'll wait for you at the English corner. Well, it's the legendary English corner. It used to be a very popular romantic place, but in recent years, it has been disliked by people. At most, some people would go there to sit and read books in the early morning. There are so many mosquitoes now that no serious person would want to go there at night. Li Yuan walked around for a long time before reaching that place. It's very remote, the place is not big, and the English corner sign is almost invisible. Walking towards a figure standing next to him, when the two were almost close to each other, Zhang Yuling reached out and grabbed Li Yuan's hand, crossed his fingers and walked forward. "Teacher Zhang, are you so brave?" When Zhang Yuling heard this, he immediately stopped and directly used the dim light to hug Li Yuan's neck. Feeling the breath so close, Zhang Yuling said, "I want to fall in love." Talk about shit. As soon as Li Yuan finished speaking, Zhang Yuling bid him. Although it has nothing to do with the content of this chapter. But today is a day to be remembered. Don't forget the national humiliation and be grateful to our ancestors. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 159. The bed in Zhang Yuling's school apartment was a bit too small. But I can understand that it would be nice to be given a room. Many graduate students live in dormitories. Zhang Yuling works part-time as a class teacher, so he can get this kind of benefits. I'm going home on Saturday. Afterwards, Zhang Yuling turned his face and said something in Li Yuan's ear. Then I'll also go to the old man's place to have a meal. No, I want to go back to your house. Li Yuan turned around and saw Zhang Yuling's serious eyes. She also blinked at Li Yuan. No, why did you go to my house? Zhang Yuling said with a smile, I'm going home for 2 days, and after 1 week of school, I basically have nothing to do at school. Do you want to come with me? Li Yuan has no time to go back, and he will start to fall out this Saturday and Sunday, so he must not go out. But, it seems good for Zhang Yuling to return to his hometown. After all, she is serious about holding a gun. If someone brings trouble to her parents, she can definitely become the strongest bodyguard. Thinking of this, Li Yuan felt that it was a good thing. I might be a little busy and can't go back. If you can go back, I'd like you to chat more with my parents. Huh? Trouble. Zhang Yuling had never heard such words from Li Yuan. This guy actually knew he was in trouble? Really? Then you can make video calls to me every day. Love goes or goes. Zhang Yuling immediately stopped raising conditions. Go, I'll go, husband, Don't be angry. Zhang Yuling smiled and leaned on Li Yuan's shoulder to act coquettishly. Li Yuan put his arms around Zhang Yuling's neck, and then pressed his face against it. Although I always thought Zhang Yuling was a bit weird, for example, if you were nicer to her, she would ask some outrageous things, if you were more serious to her, she would immediately become a good girl. But she is really the kind of daughter-in-law that parents like best. She is sincerely willing to communicate with parents and even integrate into her life. Xu Yanlin is unlikely to communicate with her elders. Wen Yuxian knows, but even if the two of them are together, it is because of his existence that Wen Yuxian communicates and understands with his parents and is willing to integrate into life with him. Once she is gone, she can only pay attention to the old man's condition occasionally, which is already considered very powerful, and there is no hope for anything else. It's not that they are bad, because they are normal people and would make such a choice. There is no moral debt, which is already an excellent result. Everyone's personality is different, and no one will pursue something that is not important to them for 10 years. It just happened that Zhang Yuling was different from others in that she needed these things more. You look a little off. Zhang Yuling suddenly asked. Don't bring anything with you when you go back this time. Just eat. There are more delicious fruits back home. Just tell my dad what you want to eat and he will get it for you. It's golden August now, the Mid-Autumn Festival is coming, and the smell of harvest is everywhere. During this period of time when Li Yuan was a child, as long as he was not in school, he would run around looking for edible wild fruits. But the Mid-Autumn Festival is next Thursday. You want to stay until next Thursday? Okay, hubby. You can stay as long as you want. As a classmate, Xu Yanlin must have quickly learned the news that Li Yuan sent Wen Yuxian downstairs, and she was right next door to Wen Yuxian. She doesn't even need to take the initiative to get information, her classmates and the internet will force it on her. Others didn't know that he had a good relationship with Li Yuan, so they wouldn't ask any questions. At most, they would just say a few words of envy to Wen Yuxian next to her. But Anna Shen knew about this. When Anna Shen saw this incident starting to spread on the internet, she immediately sent a message to Xu Yanlin. Don't you care about this? Xu Yanlin replied, of course I don't care, this is just hype. Is it really hype? Well, it really is. Even if it wasn't hype, there was nothing she could do about it. When it comes to relationships, she feels that she is in a very bad position and is completely unqualified to raise conditions. She is the flower raised by Li Yuan, and she can only bloom for Li Yuan at any time. Anna Shen said nothing further. On the bed in her apartment, she herself was confused. She didn't do what Shen Tianfu arranged. Because she knew there would be no results. I just saw the relevant video and told Xu Yanlin that I hope Xu Yanlin can seize the opportunity. After all, she knew very well that no matter how well Xu Yanlin did in her studies, she could never compare to the bright future of finding Li Yuan as her boyfriend. It only took Li Yuan a few months to reach a height that his father could not reach in half his life. If he can push his father to this point, it is inevitable to reach a higher level in the future. When Qingtian capital reaches hundreds of billions, its status in the country will not be bad. She envied Xu Yanlin for being able to talk to Li Yuan, but she didn't envy Xu Yanlin for becoming MRS Li in the future. Even though Tianfu capital is currently in trouble, with Tianfu capital's foundation, it will be able to come out sooner or later. She just needs to. Thinking of this, a cell phone ringing suddenly interrupted her thoughts. She saw it was an unfamiliar number and out of habit, she answered the call. A man's cold voice came from inside, Miss Shen? Do you know where your father is? Anna Shen frowned and said, you are. I'm Peng Jindong. Miss Shen should know me, right? Well, hello, Uncle Peng. Of course Anna Shen knew the person who even her father had to be careful to entertain. Where is your dad? I had something to do with him, but the phone call couldn't be reached. Huh? I'm not sure. Then you go get in touch. After Anna Shen hung up the phone, she started calling her father, but unfortunately she couldn't get through. I turned around and called the driver and nanny at home, but still couldn't get through. After a while, Pang Jindong's phone rang again. As soon as she answered the call, she heard Pang Jindong say, "Miss Shen, I'm where you live. Come down here." Anna Shen said subconsciously, "Uncle Pang, I am now." Before she finished speaking, she realized the problem. How could Pang Jindong know where she lived? This is Xu Yanlin's place. She just came to help her take care of the cat because she has more free time. I'm right at the door of Soho apartment. I have something to ask you. Anna Shen's breathing was rapid, which showed that she was feeling anxious at this time. Uncle Pang, did something happen to my dad's side? Either you come down, or I go up, it's your choice. When the market opened on Thursday, Li Yuan first spent 200 million yuan on Tianchuan shares, and currently still holds about 1.5 billion yuan. These are what he plans to smash tomorrow. The quantification inside started to be done in batches. Because they have too many restricted funds, which have exceeded 4 billion. You must first buy some chips and release part of the margin. Otherwise, if problems arise again, the losses will be even greater and it is recommended not to increase. However, they are definitely not willing to take all the chips in this position. This kind of loss is unacceptable to individuals. They were not Lu Shangyuan, so they left no escape route. As a result, just a few minutes after Li Yuan made the move, Tianchuan shares, which were just open for trading, were suddenly hit by someone. At first, he thought it was because the quantitative side couldn't bear it any longer and started borrowing money again. But when I saw countless chips swarming out, I knew it was definitely not the quantitative side, but Shen Tianfu who was crazy. The closing funds are at least 3 billion. You can hit quantification, but you won't hit it so hard. There is no one below to take over, so what's the point of smashing it? Anyway, it doesn't matter to him. The remaining 1.5 billion he has is only 200 million in cost, and the remaining 1.3 billion are all earned. Is Shen Tianfu angry? He is the fund with the highest initiative in Tianchuan shares, come to strangle him? Is he mentally ill? Anyway, just leave it there. He was too lazy to take care of it and focused on other funds. Today's net worth may drop a lot, so you have to be more careful. When it was almost time to close, Qingtian Capital received a guest. Pang Jindong chatted with Yu Yu for a while, and after Li Yuan walked out of the trading room, he came over to explain the situation to him. "Boss, a man named Pang Jindong is here, saying that he wants to entrust us with a sum of funds, which may reach tens of billions." When Li Yuan heard this, he thought it was Zhang Yuanqiao and the others who had already collected the 10 billion, and someone else came to communicate with him. But he quickly denied it, because if he came out, Zhang Yuanqiao would definitely greet him and would not come quietly. He came to the office and saw Pang Jindong wearing gold-rimmed glasses. Although Pang Jindong had a smile on his face, Li Yuan didn't think he was an easy person to get along with. He stretched out his hand and said, "Hello Mr. Pang, I am Li Yuan." Pang Jindong shook hands with Li Yuan and said with a smile, "I have admired Mr. Li's name for a long time, and today I have stepped into the door of Qingtian Capital. I am honored." After Li Yuan sat down, he asked, "Where did Mr. Pang hear that our Qingtian Capital accepted the entrustment?" Pang Jindong said, "The main reason is that we heard that Mr. Li is familiar with Miss Xu Yanlin and is close to Miss Shen Anna." Li Yuan suddenly frowned. First of all, Xu Yanlin would definitely not take over the job for him. Secondly, he was not familiar with Anna Shen. "Li Yuan, where do you start talking about this? I am indeed familiar with Xu Yanlin, but I have nothing to do with Anna Shen." Seeing that Li Yuan was eager to clear up the relationship, Pang Jindong stopped being secretive and said, "To be honest with Mr. Li, the funds I want to entrust belong to Tianfu Capital." Tianfu Capital? Yes, Shen Tianfu suddenly ran away last night, leaving behind the mess of Tianfu Capital. I am only a representative of the investors. I hope that Mr. Li can take over all the chips and money from Tianfu Capital. Of course, the money is not much. Already. Li Yuan was shocked and speechless after hearing this. Shen Tianfu is so ruthless that he doesn't even want Tianfu Capital anymore and just runs away. How could he have the courage to make such a decision? Give up all your wealth. Even if there is money hidden outside, it won't be too much. He immediately said, "Mr. Pang, I'm sorry, I really can't help with Tianfu Capital's matters. We at Qingtian Capital only accept cash entrustments. Anything else will conflict with our company itself. At present, we have no find a way to do other business well." Pang Jindong stared at Li Yuan. "Mr. Li, we have also controlled Shen Tianfu's son, and Miss Shen Anna has not left." In his opinion, it was impossible for Li Yuan to abandon Anna Shen. As a young talent, with a beautiful woman by his side, it is impossible that he would not be willing to pay something for Anna Shen. Li Yuan smiled, "Mr. Pang, Shen Tianfu's son or daughter has nothing to do with me." Li Yuan felt that Shen Tianfu was even more cruel. Not only do they not want money, they also don't want their son. He probably raised a son secretly, but his investors knew about it in advance. Shen Tianfu ran so suddenly that Li Yuan thought he would have to make a decision on Saturday or Sunday. Pang Jindong, then treat it as a simple transaction. The deal cannot be done. Qingtian Capital does not have the ability to acquire Tianfu Capital. The properties of the two companies are different. Pang Jindong thought that Li Yuan was just saying something for the occasion, so he patiently added another sentence. It turned out that Li Yuan was telling the truth. He really doesn't want to take over Tianfu Capital's current mess. So he said coldly, "Then we ask Miss Shen Anna to compensate for our losses." Mr. Li won't be angry, right? Li Yuan directly spread his hands and said, "What does this have to do with me? Manager, you, help me see off the guests." Li Yuan didn't want to talk to them anymore. "Damn it, you want to threaten someone with some chicken feathers as a command arrow? Where did you learn this bad habit?" Not to mention that he was not familiar with Anna Shen. Even if this situation happened in Xu Yanlin's family, it would be impossible for him to take over such a mess. Maybe the person behind Pang Jindong is really powerful, but he has nothing to be afraid of. He conducts business in an orderly manner and makes money within his own ability. If anyone dares to cause trouble for him, he will dare to fight hard with them. Pang Jindong turned around and left with a cold face. Half an hour later, he appeared in the office of Shangyuan Capital. Lu Shangyuan received Pang Jindong. Pang Jindong said straight to the point, "Mr. Lu, something happened at Tianfu Capital. They are planning to transfer all their business to Shangyuan Capital." "What?" Lu Shangyuan felt like he had heard the biggest joke in the world. It's not like he acquired Tianfu Capital, how could he take over all the business? Pang Jindong said, "To be honest, Shen Tianfu ran away. Today we temporarily found someone to replace him, but the effect was not very good. As far as we know, both of you are in conflict with Qingtian Capital, so regarding the situation of Tianfu Capital, Mr. Lu must understand very well." How could Lu Shangyuan still have the energy to do one more thing, so he said tactfully, "Mr. Pang, my ability is really limited, and I still have." Before he finished speaking, Pang Jindongju took out a note and handed it to him. Lu Shangyuan opened it and said helplessly, "Well, I can only say that I will try my best, but I can't guarantee how much loss can be recovered." Pang Jindong said, "Don't worry, Mr. Lu, we will do our best to cooperate with you. All in all, there can be no problems with this fund." "Well, okay. But, I would like to ask, what is Shen Tianfu's situation now? Nothing happens, father's debt must be repaid by child. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 160. Lu Shangyuan was forced to take over the chips from Tianfu capital. There was really no way to refuse. Those people had strong backgrounds in Zhangzhou, and they even persuaded Lu Zongnan to speak in person. Lu Zongnan's letter did not necessarily ask Lu Shangyuan to do anything, but it clearly stated the interests and risks involved. To put it bluntly, Lu Shangyuan has no chance now. In the confrontation with Qingtian capital, he was suppressed in all aspects. Taking over Tianfu capital's bargaining chip is equivalent to taking over Tianfu capital's previous connections. What Shen Tianfu had spent decades and agreed to many conditions to get was now easily in Lu Shangyuan's hands. Whether it is worth it or not, at least on the surface, Shangyuan Capital is about to become one of the top 10 private equity firms in the country. When Lu Shangyuan took over Tianfu Capital overnight, he was confused when he saw the positions and transaction records. How come this is so familiar to my previous operations? It is almost becoming a mirror image of Lianying technology. However, the role Tianfu Capital plays in it is completely different from the role he plays in Lianying technology. In Lianying technology, he was a big short seller. He failed to control his chips and was busted. In Tianchuan shares, Tianfu Capital is the long side and currently holds back the shorts. Every time the price limit is raised, the shorts will be required to add hundreds of millions of additional margins. Well, that's where familiarity comes in. During this period, he was worried about margin calls every day. He even clearly remembered every step and how Li Yuan forced him to a dead end. Tianchuan shares is still considered a tripartite force, the other two parties are long, and the quantitative funds are short. Lu Shangyuan almost didn't think much before he decided on the direction, which was to copy homework. Why did Li Yuan ask him to increase the margin again and again? He wanted to move it over intact and let the quantitative side enjoy the same treatment as him. Seeing that the stock price dropped by the limit today, he was filled with hatred. This was clearly an opportunity for quantification. Fortunately, the quantitative side seems to have been artificially intervened. After artificial intervention, there is no absolute execution power. They believe that the current position is too high and it is not suitable to grab funds. This just gave Lu Shangyuan a chance. You can also lock quantization inside. But there is one variable, and that is Li Yuan's funds. The people arranged by Peng Jindong have been keeping an eye on the place where Anna Shen currently lives. At this time, Anna Shen had confirmed the news of Shen Tianfu's disappearance. And she wasn't the only one in the room. Her aunt and uncle are all here. Nana, is it time for school to end at Linlin's side? Xu Yanlin's mother said anxiously to herself over there. They have become homeless. The house at the gate of Zhangzhou University was Shen Tianfu's money, but now it was taken away directly because Shen Tianfu owed them money. Anna Shen's car and jewelry, as long as they were kept at home, were all sorted. Even the 5 Series scooter she drove to Xu Yanlin's side was forcibly towed away. Moreover, there was a group of people squatting at the door. As long as Anna Shen went downstairs, she would be taken away. After receiving the call last night, Anna Shen was so frightened that she slept with her back against the door all night. But today, I received the news that my aunt and uncle were kicked out of the house, and then they came here. Everything between the two families is based on Shen Tianfu. Now that something happens to Shen Tianfu, they will undoubtedly be implicated. Job, house, bank card, car. Others have 100 excuses to take back everything they once had. Including Anna Shen, all 3 people's bank cards have been frozen. There is still some money in them, but they cannot be used. Linlin has 2 classes in the afternoon. School ends very late. Plus, she has another class at night, so I'm afraid she won't have time to come over. Anna Shen has looked at Xu Yanlin's class schedule, and there are especially many classes on Thursdays. Friday will be easy except for one class in the morning. At this time, Xu Yanlin's father frowned and said, "Can't she skip class and come see us?" Anna Shen had nothing to say. Because Xu Yanlin didn't come back, they couldn't even eat. Even if you order takeout, you will be stopped downstairs. Uncle, please be patient. Linlin is also very confused now. Anna Shen advised. Xu Yanlin's father said angrily, "What does she have to worry about? My parents don't want it anymore, right? Do you want to wait for us to starve to death here? If people don't dare to come up, it means they don't dare to offend Li Yuan. As long as Li Yuan, if we come out and say something, will they still make things difficult for us?" In the past, he thought that by embracing his brother-in-law, Xu Yanlin would naturally enjoy happiness when she married into a good family in the future. So even though Shen Tianfu hadn't directly given them cash over the years, he never doubted it. Unexpectedly, Shen Tianfu fell down so quickly. He even ran away secretly without telling them. Up to now, they still couldn't help but beg Xu Yanlin, and they didn't even take the initiative to call Xu Yanlin, leaving Anna Shen to convey the news. Anna Shen sat in the corner and pursed her lips. In fact, she hadn't eaten anything all day. She had no appetite before, and she was too lazy to eat some snacks. Later, her aunt and uncle came, and she gave the snacks to the two of them. Now there is nothing to eat in the room except cat food. Then I'll go find someone else to order a meal for us. My aunt and uncle can sit here and have a good rest. Anna Shen walked out. She didn't dare go downstairs, but there were other tenants nearby. You just need to discuss it with the other party and borrow their phone number and address. After all, their phones have been monitored, and if the courier guy downstairs delivers the food with the same order number as theirs, the takeaway will be stopped directly. There's no problem with someone else's number. After more than 10 minutes, Anna Shen got a number, and the other party agreed that the takeout had arrived and left it at the door, asking her to come and get it. She had never done anything so embarrassing in her life. Yesterday I was still thinking that Tianfu Capital would survive this crisis, but today it has been reduced to a lost dog. There was no light in her eyes anymore. Fortunately, my aunt and uncle still had the last bit of sense and did not contact Li Yuan directly. Otherwise, I am afraid that even this final place of rest will be lost. She chatted with Feng Dongchen for a few words, and Feng Dongchen slowly got some information about Tianfu Capital. To put it bluntly, you have lost so much that you have no hope of getting your money back. With a total scale of about 12 billion, nearly 3 billion in cash was used for Tiankai shares, plus more than 1 billion in agreement funds. The loss on Lianying Technology was not much, only 100 million. The agreed capital for Tianchuan shares was more than 2 billion. Later, a lot of conservative financial management was liquidated, and more than 2 billion in cash was invested. Tianfu Capital suddenly had more than 3 billion restricted funds and a cash loss of 5 billion. After all, Tiankai shares cannot be liquidated in a short period of time, and the money invested by Tianchuan shares has no room for liquidation. There are only more than 3 billion conservative financial management left. Except for Li Yuan, who can turn around this situation, it is impossible for others to do so. Shen Tianfu knew that there was no recovery, and he also knew that the later he ran, the more dangerous he would be. This result was extremely shocking to Anna Shen. It turns out that everything has been lost like this. It certainly didn't get to this point overnight. However, his father had previously vowed that Li Yuan would definitely lose, and Li Yuan would soon have nothing. If nothing happened to Tianchuan shares, we wouldn't have reached this point at all. And his father is fully capable of avoiding Tianchuan shares. Why do you have to fight with Li Yuan? Those operations are full of violations. Do you want to confront Li Yuan even if you violate the rules? Hasn't he been teaching himself to put interests first? So far, her belief has not collapsed. She only thinks that she did not do a good job and her father also made some mistakes. It is not that there will be no opportunities in the future. Maybe my father will make a comeback from abroad, and another Tianfu capital will appear. All I have to do now is wait. If I can help my father, that would be great. After all, he is the person closest to him, and whatever he does is for his own good. I didn't take myself with me when I ran away this time, probably because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to endure the hardship. After returning home from get off work, Li Yuan received some shooting samples from Song Jiajia. Not bad. After all, it's just the beginning, and many scenes haven't been set up yet. Li Yuan has already arranged the first few plots. They basically use the autumn harvest as the theme of the short video. It will not be a problem to shoot more than 10 episodes one after another. The first snowfall of 2018 is almost coming soon, and with the Chinese New Year theme, it won't be a problem to shoot 20 or 30 episodes. Junior, my company's stock price dropped by the limit today. Can you help analyze what's going on? At the end of the chat, Song Jiajia asked. Originally, Li Yuan didn't want to do such a thing. However, the Song family had no room for maneuver at all, so they comforted, it's normal. The funds will leave if they feel they have made enough. The stock price will not return to normal levels until 2 months after the listing. Song Jiajia, I haven't said the name of my company yet. From what I heard from my junior, I know it very well. Could it be that I'm secretly following it? Senior, most new stocks are like this. Song Jiajia, no need to explain. When I become a rich woman, I will definitely not forget you. When I am short of money, just let me know and I will lend you the stocks I cash out. I was discovered by my senior sister. Actually, I just wanted to hug my thigh. Correction, it's about hugging long legs. Ah, yes, yes. Song Jiajia said with satisfaction, you are really discerning in choosing these characters. Chin Si has a strong camera sense and a special temperament. My senior sister taught me well, it has nothing to do with me. Of course, Li Yuan knew that Chin Si had certain qualities. After all, she was so poor that she was still willing to take her children to the amusement park. Moreover, he always felt that Chin Si was behind Zhang Chengui's death. Even if Zhang Yuling had not appeared that day, the final result would not have changed much. But the fact that she has a child will have some consequences later. How come? It's obvious that the attributes are full, right? Having unlocked the achievement of being a wife at the age of 18, who can refuse? What attributes? We'll find out when my senior gets married. Huh? Bastard, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that she has a child at a young age and may become an attack point in the future. Not afraid, not afraid. The thing she's not afraid of the most is attacks. Anyway, I told you the risks in advance, and what happens next has nothing to do with me. By the way, there is one more thing. There seems to be something wrong with the room you took away in the Soho apartment. You just to ask. The operations department has contacted me. I'll go over and have a look tomorrow afternoon. Li Yuan had known about it for a long time and had been waiting for Xu Yanlin to call. Look at what Xu Yanlin said. In this regard, he wanted to learn from Chin Si and kill his enemies without taking action himself. Net value on Wednesday, 2.7355, add 5.11%. Net value on Thursday, 2.8389, add 3.78%. The net worth is so much less than before because Tianchuan shares have dropped to the limit. According to the previous trend, the daily limit could earn 200 million. Now, not only has there been no daily limit, but the limit has fallen, resulting in a loss of 150 million. Inside and out, the income dropped by 350 million, and the net worth dropped to almost a point. When I woke up, it was Friday. Li Yuan glanced at Song's shares. After Song Jiajia mentioned it yesterday, he didn't go to see it. After all, it was close to bedtime at that time, so there was no need to delay. Once delayed, I will not be able to withstand 4 hours of high-intensity mental work during the day. So after waking up, he opened the homepage of Song Corporation. Well, it was pretty much as he expected. It was already so bad that the major shareholders of Song's shares couldn't even save the world. You can't force yourself to increase your holdings, right? Not to mention whether they have the money, what is the significance of increasing their holdings? With that kind of money, it would be better not to go public. As the market opened at 9:30, Li Yuan was ready to continue betting on Tianchuan shares. Unexpectedly, Tianchuan shares went up to the limit. The funding for closing the board is 1 billion. It was obvious that if Li Yuan dared to hit him, they would pick it up. As a result, Li Yuan withdrew the idea of clearing the warehouse. To be able to block the situation so firmly means that the other party has found its only chance of survival. They can only insist on pulling up at all costs. Even if they don't close the board, they must open more than 7 points higher. Unless the stock price of Tianchuan shares doubles and the previous quantitative side is pushed to a dead end, it will never be possible to win. In this case, he must accompany him for a while. Who doesn't care about the free money? Even as long as the other party is determined enough, it won't be a problem for him to help block the board midway and bear some financial pressure. It seems that the person who took over Tianfu Capital is a master. No matter how bad he is still the kind with rich experience. Decisive enough and ruthless enough. If you hesitate today, the selling pressure will increase by hundreds of millions. When Li Yuan smashed the market the day before yesterday, at least 200–300 million retail investors entered the market. Yesterday, because the price fell too fast, those retail investors did not go out. If we decisively close the market today, those retail investors will also be one of the helpers. In fact, the game between Li Yuan and Tianfu Capital has ended. He is now more interested in dry quantification. Kill these bullies. Sad news, the sun is shining. So I've been writing intermittently today, but I haven't been able to update the 2 chapters as scheduled. Say sorry to everyone.